Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me welcome you to the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, Business Day 2.0, Business in Every Industry. My name is Kirsha Garner, and I am the undergraduate recruitment officer for the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business. So it's so good to have each one of you here for our 2.0. We would have done a business day earlier this year in January 29th. And usually we have this at our campus at Mount Hope, but because of the pandemic, we have to try and get innovative and use online. So just before we get into today's activities, I want you to represent yourself and your school. So for those that are on Zoom, for those that are on YouTube and Facebook, if you can just let me know who you are and the school that you represent. Even if you are out of secondary school, let us know what school you went to. Very important, because we would have all transitioned from secondary school straight either to university or working. So you can put it in the chat for me so that I can represent your school. All right. Today, as we go into activities, all right. So I have Cassia from Cuba East Secondary School. Cassia, good to have you. Fayola, you went to Holy Name Convent. All right, Holy Name Convent is here today. I have Shania for Borneo Secondary. Guys, go right ahead. So whether you're on Zoom, YouTube, or Facebook, represent your secondary school. I have Aliyah from Azure Girls College, Tunapuna. I have Miracle Ministries Pentecostal, Azure Girls Charlieville, Trinity East, Parataria Comprehensive, Bishop Annecy High School, Port of Spain, Azure Girls Barrackport, St. George's, CIC, Naparima Girls, New Guyana School. Tahila is here with us. So Tahila is one of our Guyanese students who is starting the BISB program this year. Good to have you guys. I have Tranquility Government. Yes. And I will go on to YouTube for those that are there. Go right ahead, represent your school so that we will know where you are coming from. I have Presal with us today. All right, Antonia. So good to have you guys. So, as I said, this is business in every industry. If you are new to the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, let me let you know that we would have been around for the last 30 years, and we would have trained and developed business leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs from Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. But today, you will hear the stories of individuals who are leading people and managing resources to its maximum capacity. You also have the opportunity to hear from students of the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business program, where they will share their journey moving from CSEC to CAPE and now within the program. All right, so I want to encourage you, share the link with family, friends, anyone that you know is interested in business, education, and even if they're unsure of what they want to do, this event will really give them a better understanding of how to manage business in different industries. So whether you are interested in agriculture, food and natural resources, health science, government and public administration, human services, finance, law, public safety and corrections, transportation, distribution, and logistics. You may be interested in architecture and construction, manufacturing, the arts, technology and communications, hospitality and tourism, education and training. Business can be found in any one of these industries. So we do not want you to limit yourself. I want to encourage you. It is said that 90% of people remember what they hear, what they see, and what they do. So we do not want you to just hear this information, get all excited, but we want you to put things into action. So get that notebook, get your pen, get your pencil. If you are typing, get something that you can use to take notes, because I tell you, it is going to be pearls of wisdom that is going to be dropped here with all our speakers, from our CEOs to entrepreneurs, as well as our students. So thank you so much for being a part of our session. So I just want to welcome at this point in time our CEO, Mr. Mariano Brown, just to give welcome remarks on behalf of the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business. Mr. Mariano, are you here with us?
Good morning, and good morning to you, and good morning to all of our guests this morning. uh, well, what can I add to what Krishna says? Welcome. Uh, it's good to see that you are paying attention in these difficult times to your future. And to get on to brass tacks, the critical issue in terms of moving forward in each of our lives are the decisions that we make. Sometimes we make the right one, sometimes we delay them. The point is that you need to put yourself on as best footing as possible to face the difficulties that life will throw at you, and also to find our way in the world, to make a valid contribution to our societies, as well as to help our families as we move on. And education is one of the key steps in so doing. That's one of the reasons why we spend so much of our life, of our early lives in school. It really is to prepare us for everything else that will come, both from the point of view in terms of our interpersonal relationships and the critical issues, that the lessons that we learn from life are sometimes more important than what we learn in our textbook. So that is also important to marry the two, to admit and to understand that it's not only what we learn from a technical point of view, but also what the lessons that we learn from life's experiences. Now, on that basis, you always have to ensure that you don't get your lessons in the way of your education and your learning, because the two are not necessarily the same thing. As a result of which, what we try to do is to craft an experience which marries your academic understanding as well with the practical approach to understanding the way the business works and the way the world works. So it's not really a simple one step. It's not only what always comes out of a textbook. And our programs are crafted to help bring those things out and to gear you, to help you, to give you a foundation which will build on what has gone before and help you to step up your game. Business education has taken off in the sense that we never really had business training or business training programs which are geared to helping people find their place in the world of work and or to find themselves as entrepreneurs. Most times people sort of wander into those things and they do it as they go along, the business of life experiences. What we've tried to do is to blend and craft a program which puts the two things together so that it helps you mature in your approach. It helps you to work in teams, and it also helps you to bring your academic program to bear. In other words, it's not just simply something that you learn in a textbook, you close the textbook and move on. In addition to which, I think what we also need to understand is that in the business of life and in the societies in which we find ourselves, the one thing that is constant is change. And that we need to practice lifelong learning. And that's important, lifelong learning, because things are changing. And consider the doctor, for example, who went to school 40 years ago. If he doesn't stay up to date, he will be still practicing what he learned out of a textbook 40 years ago. That's not going to help the patient. Quite the opposite. In some instances, the way developments work, some of the things that we learned in the past may have to be unlearned, and new techniques and new procedures rolled out, developed. Well, it's the same way in business. Many of the things that we may have acquired sometimes change. And in the result, we also need to be reflective to understand what the processes are. Now, this is not to deter you. It's important to understand what you know and what the world knows at a particular point in time, so you can better appreciate the changes as they come and why they have taken place. And that's what we want to awaken each one of you. We want to awake the idea of scholarship, in other words, an academic approach, the understanding that we need to test as well as to see whether the programs as well as the techniques that we have learned are applicable. And if not, what are the changes that we need to make? What are the amendments to the discipline? Not everything works the same way in the same situations. And that's one of the most important lessons in life. That it's not about what the book says, it's really about how you apply it. Now that's the business of education. Right? Education is really about structuring your experiences so that you take as much as you can out of it, and you will be learning for the rest of your life. You will die learning. There will be things that will be coming at you that you didn't understand, but you will understand it before you leave. So life is a lifelong learning experience. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to put in the foundations at our program to help you approach life in its fullness. So I want to, with those few words, I want to introduce you, welcome you to our faculty this morning, who have a pretty robust program in terms of introductions to let you know what's going on. There's a lot to take place, but I want to assure you that you're all capable of it, and you will find capacities that you did not know you had. In fact, that's the moral of the story. As we look on at the Olympics, there are also lessons that we could learn from that. There are people who are recording their personal best times. And how did they do it? Well, they don't know. They've been training all the time. They know they can do it at a particular point in time, but competition does that for you. It makes you find skill sets and or capacities within yourself that you didn't know were there. The point is that you have to be open to the experience. And in the business and in the world of work and in your life, the only time that you are finished is when you say you are finished. Failure is not an option. And in fact, those who fail, or it's not failure, it's an experience. You learn from it. Failure is an indispensable part of the learning process. That means you never quit. You simply did not do it on a given day, and you have to move forward. And that's the language of a champion. It's not to say that champions have never lost, they have lost. Right? But they get to championship status when they learn to challenge those experiences into lessons that helps them to stay on top of their game. And that's what we try to do here. And that's what we try to introduce you to. So welcome today. I look forward to seeing you in class, or alternatively in cyberspace again in the future, because we will meet again in the future, where we could continue our lifelong lessons for you and for me. Thank you for coming, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mariano, for your words of advice and comfort. As you said, the foundation that we are setting here at the Lockjack GSB is really to prepare you guys for life. And you are becoming a lifelong learner. That is what we want to encourage you to do as you get into business education. Even though you go through the 4-year period with us with the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business, it is only the beginning. And I want to invite at this time our program manager, Ms. Dr. Miguel Dindial, who will share a little bit with you about this undergraduate degree program, because we want you to start to consider, as someone coming from CSEC, coming from CAPE, what is your next step? And this is one of the options that you can consider once you are looking at business as a career. So I want to invite at this time Dr. Dindial, who will share with you on the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business program.
I thank you very much, Kisha. Just confirming you can hear me.
Yes, I'm hearing you well, Dr. Dindial.
Okay, great. So before I start, just want to welcome everyone to our session. Thanks for taking the time to be a part of it. And we hope that at the end of it, even if you choose to not continue with us, that you've extracted some benefit from it, which is essentially the main aim of what we are doing here today. But before we get into the crux of what the session is about, I want to just speak a little bit about the program. So as you learn and as you engage, you can start reflecting on the program itself and see if there's a fit between what has been discussed, and if you want to perhaps take it a bit further by spending the next 4 years with us as we help you develop your business skills and so forth. So I'll speak a little bit about the BISP program, what it is about, what it can prepare you for, and what are some of the benefits you can derive from it. So as Kirsha would have said, the program is a very flexible one in terms of the business skills that it would equip you with. As Mariano would have spoken, there's knowledge and then there's the application side. Once you understand these concepts, then it can be applied in whatever sort of circumstance you come in, and you evolve and you retool and you reskill and so forth. And we understand many of you are young. Some of you may wish to work in already established organizations. Some of you may have a more entrepreneurial drive where you want to essentially create something on your own. The program itself can cater to both of these different sort of paths that you wish to take. So if you wish to work in an established organization, we have the foundation we can lay for that. If you wish to go on a more entrepreneurial sort of route, we can also assist with that as well. But aside from all of that, we aim to deliver the highest quality of education while giving you an enriching experience, because it's much more than just the academic side. We want to create a rounded individual, somebody who can function both in the professional and business space, but also in society as well. So what are some of the general benefits that you can derive from the BISB program? And this is something that we've developed both through understanding what the business will needs, but also through consultation with the business will itself, because as Mariana would have said, it's really an iterative process. These programs evolve over time. The needs change and the program has to evolve with that as well. So these are just some of the general benefits that our program can offer you. We do have an internship structure that allows you at various times to earn money and so forth. I know many of you would be considering your independence. So that's one of the general benefits that the program offers. But many of you may have only heard of us for the first time over the course of this week. But for a long time, the Atalockjack GSB has been very involved in training executives at senior level management, for instance. So we've learned a lot from those experiences. We've learned a lot from that engagement. And that's what we're bringing to you as a younger demographic. We're teaching you based on all the experiences we had on how to think like an executive. So putting you on a path where you can develop these skills way earlier in your career. So when those opportunities come, you are very much prepared to capitalize on them. We also would have engaged considerably with the business world, and they've been telling us that many students are coming out of these undergraduate degrees and they function almost as independent persons only. The business world is changing. There's a lot more collaboration happening, a lot more collaborative work, because that's how you create a greater deal of value than just one person working on their own. But they're telling us that many of these persons are coming out and they simply don't know how to function in a team. And that's a very stark shortcoming that the business world has been telling us. So in the program, we've built in many activities, many processes that help you develop those team working skills. So when you come out, you don't only understand how to function as an individual, but also within a group as well. We bring again those executives that we've worked with so closely. Some of them are you're going to hear from them today. We give you access to these executives. These persons would have been trained at the Lockjack GSP, would have engaged with us for a long time, and they continue to maintain very close relationships with us. And we bring those persons into the classroom by providing you with the insights of these corporate executives as well. They also go beyond that. They provide different mentorship type activities and so forth. So they give you a very intimate sort of a training that you simply would not get anywhere else. We've realized as well, again, speaking to the business world, that some students perhaps may come out with the theoretical knowledge. They understand what they're about, but they have great difficulty in terms of expressing themselves in a very effective manner. And you can have a lot of knowledge in your mind and you can understand things and concepts and processes, but if you're unable to communicate these things in a very effective manner, then the value of it can be significantly lower. So in the program, throughout the entire 4 years, we teach you not only how to assimilate knowledge, how to understand problems and solve them and so forth, but we teach you how to also communicate these things in a very effective manner. And these are some of the more sort of generalized benefits you can have from the BISB program. And then beyond that, if we sort of peel away those more sort of operational sides, then we have this sort of profile that we try to inculcate in all of our students. We want you to be leadership driven. We all want you to use the knowledge you've gathered through your 4-year degree and make a significant change both locally and even globally as well. But you have to also be a value-based individual. You're going into society, business has a very significant part to play in enriching and improving the lives of not only yourselves but your citizens and your fellow your fellow nationals as well. So we want to make sure that you understand the value-based system in which you're supposed to operate. And you're performance-oriented. We want you to be driven, to be hungry, but also do it in a very responsible way as well. So while we teach you all of the knowledge needed to be successful in business, we also make sure that these three pillars are sort of reflected as well. So some of you might be wondering, we've spoken about these general benefits, but what does the program look like in a more sort of an intimate setting? So the academic side of the actual program. Many of you, and I think it's a theme of today's session as well, is that many of you may not have a business background prior to this. So you might have come out from modern languages, you might have been studying sciences up until this point and come to the realization that, hang on, I want to probably develop my business skills. I want to go out there and make a contribution as it relates to business. This program, we understand that. We don't throw you into the deep end. We don't bring you in and say, well, you have to have prior knowledge of business to be successful in this program. We understand that there's a very diverse demographic of students that come in. So during the first day of the program, regardless of what background you come from, we give you those foundational skills that you can build on as we get into the more advanced business skills and training and so forth. So if you're a business student, fine, you have a strong foundation. If you don't, we give you one during the first year. And that's what the first year does. That's what we call that business foundation aspect. When you move into the year 2, that's when we start building on this foundation. We start going into the more specialized aspects of business in terms of the functional areas. So you understand the foundation. Now let's go into the finance. Let's go into the marketing. Let's go into all of these different elements that come together to actually construct the business activity itself. Once you've covered that, then we go into the year 3 and the year 4, when you start thinking about, well, what specialization I want to actually go into. Obviously, you have these general skills, but you may have a special interest in terms of one of the 3 specializations that we offer. In the year 3 and the year 4, you are able to choose those specializations with guidance and advice from us. And that's where you spend your 3rd and your 4th year. And in the 4th year, it's really the culmination of everything that you do. In the 4th year, you do what we call your Capstone Project. So you apply all of these learnings to a real organization, a real business problem. And we say, okay, take everything that you've learned with guidance and mentorship from faculty at the GSB, and let's make a contribution by solving a real problem that exists in a real organization in the real world. And if you look at throughout these 4-year periods, there's also internship opportunities. In the year 3, you have a guaranteed internship. And then beyond that, as opportunities arise, you're allowed to go off on internship in the other years as well. So when you leave not only with the knowledge and the theory, but also with practical insight as well. And if you look at the bottom of this graph, you see those student life experiences. We don't only believe in the academics. We want you to have a rounded experience, give you opportunities to become leaders. So we have many student clubs. We have our ambassador program as well. You may be hearing from a few of our ambassadors today. We have the coaching and the mentorship that I mentioned earlier. And we also have Spanish, which is an integral part of the entire program. If you look at Trinidad and its geographic sort of location, it's very close to the Latin American region. But largely speaking, we've not been able to really penetrate that market and make significant inroads business-wise. And one of the main reasons for that has been the language barrier between the Caribbean and the Latin American region. So in the BISP program, throughout the entire 4 years, you actually spend a significant amount of time learning Spanish as a second language. So the intention is when you finish your 4-year degree, you are reasonably competent in speaking Spanish as a second language, which to us is a huge advantage of what we offer within the BISP program. So some of you might also be sort of wondering, what does the semesters look like per academic year? And this is something we can share with you later on if you want to get a bit more insight, but I'm going to give you just a brief snapshot of what it looks like. And again, that year one is the foundation year. So you see a lot of foundational type courses here, a lot of introductory courses. So again, regardless of what background you come from, we have you covered in our first year. And obviously you see those developing and delivering impactful presentations, helping you develop those communication skills and so forth, sort of manifesting itself. And when you go into the year two, you start seeing that advanced aspect coming in. So you get into the more functional areas. We start speaking about the economics, the finance, the entrepreneurship, the accounting. And then when you move in to your third year, you start seeing the specializations coming out, where you choose your specialization courses, you develop it as you move into your year four. And again, you can see throughout those 4 years, Spanish workshops being a very integral part of that. And the Capstone Project, which is the application side of saying, okay, we've spent 4 years amassing all of this knowledge. And throughout the entire program, you would have had chances to apply it in a functional aspect. But at the end of the entire program, we want you to bring together all of these pieces into a substantive project that allows you to really pull together all of your learnings and applying it to real problems. So in a nutshell, this is what the BISP program looks like. I would have spoken to you before about some of the general outcomes we want you to be able to derive from the program. And I went into actually speaking about, well, what does the program do on a mechanical level to deliver on those promises? So I know it's a lot to consume, but my hope is that it has given you a reference point that you can step back and engage in the discussions that are going to come today, and then say, okay, this is what I've learned, this is what has piqued my interest, and perhaps the BISP program can help me advance these interests and take me along the path that I wish to actually pursue. So again, we remain available. So if anybody has any interest, after the session is finished, you can reach out to Kersha. And if you want to have a chat with me as well, we can arrange for that to give you some more advice. So we remain very available and very willing to engage, because this is a very significant decision that you're going to make. So we want to make sure that you are fully informed as you make this significant investment in your future. So what I will do is I'll pass you back over to Kersha now so that she can take it over from here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miguel, for sharing on the undergraduate degree program. We appreciate the fact that you would have really taken the time to help us to understand more about the 4-year journey. And guys, it is very important that when you think about your transition from secondary school to university, that you make a very informed decision concerning your next step. And that is what we want to do here at the Lockjack GSB. We want to ensure that you have all the information and the guidance necessary so that when you make that decision, you know for a fact, here what I am taking personal responsibility for my education. And it means that whether success or failure, I am putting my all into it. And we have some persons here today that will share their own journey moving from secondary school to CEO, even as regional managers, as well as entrepreneurs, sharing their journey and experience to help you to understand that people right here from Trinidad and Tobago are able to do very good within their industry. And to lead this conversation, I want to invite at this point in time our marketing director, Ms. Fayola Nicholas, who will be guiding this discussion with our CEO and regional managers. Fayola?
Excellent. Thanks a lot. And good morning, everyone. How are you all doing today? I see we have before the holidays, so I hope everyone is having a good time. For those of you who have just finished your exams, perhaps this week or even yesterday, congratulations. Just finishing is an accomplishment. You've made it through this far. But then I also know that you have hopes, desires, dreams of things that you would want to do with your career. And this is why you're here today, right? So today we have a very nice panel. Actually, we have two panels. But before we jump into the panel, let's do a little bit of a poll to see where you are at in terms of your career. And this is for both the students as well as the parents. So the polling is in progress at this point in time. You can see the questions come up. And I would like you all to choose, do you have a career plan, yes or no? And if you are working, have you ever wanted to change your career, yes or no? All right. So we have like 20 seconds more on this poll, all right, before we end it, and then we'll see the results. Let's get some more people in. Do you have a career plan? Yes or no? And if you are working, have you ever wanted to change your career? All right. Okay, good. So I'm going to end the polling at this point in time. All right, I give it 5 seconds more for anyone else who just wants to slip in and give their vote. All right. So in terms of the results that you should be seeing, yes, most people have a career plan of some sort, and that's great. Because it's really difficult to go on your journey if you don't know, where you're going, how you want to get there. So that's good. The other thing is, have you ever wanted to change your career? And that one we see it's kind of split. We have 57% saying no, and then 50% saying yes. All right. So I'm not too sure about that maths in terms of 50 and 57%. Right. But it seems as though it's split fairly evenly down the middle there. All right. All right, and the reason that we ask these questions is because the panel that we have for you here today are individuals who would have grown and developed and maybe started in one career and made a segue into another career. All right, so the panel that we have for you here this morning, first of all, we have Lisa Giuseppe. Lisa Giuseppe, in terms of her background, attended St. Augustine Girls High School, where she did both her O's as well as her A's. Then she went off to UWI St. Augustine and she read for a degree in accounting. She graduated with second-class honors in 2000, and her first job was actually as a teacher, an accounting teacher at Holy Name Convent, where for 4 years she taught hundreds of students at both O and A level. Eventually she left and she joined the Prestige Holding as a training and development manager, rising over the years to the position of brand manager at KFC before she left. During that time, she decided to pursue her IMBA, her International MBA, with a concentration in marketing at Lockjack GSB. And she graduated with distinction in 2008. So Lisa is very much alumni. In 2011, she joined the Digicel team and she spent 7 years there in several senior management positions. And her next move was to Unicoma, where she currently holds the position of regional marketing manager. In 2014, she launched Bella Bachi, which has become a successful online store providing high quality, reasonably priced clothing to ladies of the nation. All right, our second panelist for today is David Roberts. Now, David Roberts is a dedicated management professional with over 15 years of experience, actively involved in execution, supervision, and evaluation of micro enterprise and youth development programs, both in public and private sectors. David is also an alumni of Lockjack GSB. He did the MBA with a specialization in entrepreneurship and innovation. He possesses a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, and he graduated with honors and is professionally accredited as a Director of Corporate Governance. He also holds professional certificates in project management, facility management, corporate citizenship management, and he is pursuing his doctorate in business administration at Toulouse Business School, France, with a focus on social entrepreneurship in developing economies. He has functioned as a technical advisor, corporate services manager, business and entrepreneurship manager in NEDCO, which is our National Entrepreneurship Development Company Limited, and he is currently the Chief Executive Officer of TTT Limited. So welcome, David, to the panel. And finally, we have Ian Forbes. And I'll give Ian's abridged bio sketch. Ian Forbes is currently serving as the CEO acting, having been appointed 30th September 2020 at Angostura Limited. His substantive position remains as Chief Operating Officer, having been appointed in that position in January 2020. And previously, he held the position of Executive Manager Operations at the distillery from 2017 to 2020. His career pathway of 30 years spans a robust portfolio in the alcohol beverages sector. So he's been through manufacturing operations, process management, plant design, quality assurance, project management, and business management. And he has held senior positions at the region's leading brewery, moving through the ranks to be highly accredited and certified in the post of Master Brewer, which he attained at the Institute of Brewing and Distilling UK. Now, Ian is also a Lockjack GSB graduate. He actually graduated with his MBA with distinction from Lockjack GSB in 2007, but his bachelor's, his BSc was in chemistry and biochemistry, and his MSc, his master's, was in food science and technology. All right. So despite having a very strong background in terms of brewing and distilling and being a master brewer, Ian has moved on to the role of Chief Executive Officer of Angostura, and congratulations to you on that. All right, so thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the panel. And to kick things off, just to get an idea of you and where you were perhaps early in your career, did you have a career plan? And maybe I can ask Lisa to kick things off for us. I am not sure. I think you need to unmute.
Okay, it wasn't allowing me to unmute just now. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I'm really, really excited to have been invited on to this panel. So, Fayola, I had a career plan in terms of I knew I always wanted to do something in business and marketing and that kind of thing. To say that I had a plan that was written out, that I knew I was going to go from here to here to here, no, I did not. I was kind of just going through school, doing what I was good at because, you wanted to get the passes at CXC and at A-levels and that kind of thing. When I wrote my A-levels, I actually did not get the grades that I needed to get into university. And I was, of course, devastated. And then I got an opportunity. We had a space opening in the accounting department, which was not something that I wanted to do, but it was something that I was excellent at. I was really, really good at accounting. So I took the opportunity because I wanted to go to university. And that's actually how I got into my accounting career part of it. But my ultimate goal is I always wanted to be in marketing, doing event management, that kind of thing. So, eventually my career path took me, and it wasn't, the ultimate goal was to get to marketing. How I got there was a windy road, but eventually, through Arthur Lockjack and getting to do my IMBA, because my degree would have been in accounting, doing my IMBA with a concentration in marketing is how I finally cemented that. But I mean, I went from accounting, teaching accounting, to working in a company where for the better half of 7 years, I was in HR, training and development, employee recruitment, that kind of thing. And eventually doing my IMB and getting to move into a marketing position in Prestige as brand manager, and then moving on to Digicel and now Unicommerce. So I didn't have a plan, but I had a vision.
I like that. That's a nice way to put it. You knew where you wanted to go, but you took a different path to get there.
Yes.
And that's good. Okay, so maybe I could ask Ian. Ian, how about you? Because you have a very interesting career there in alcohol. It sounds exciting. How did you have a plan? Did you, leave school thinking I want to work in alcohol? How did you end up there?
Right, I'm now unmuted. The host has unmuted me. Thank you so much. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, just like Lisa, I'm very excited to be here. The second thing I want to tell you, this is a small fact, is that Fayola and I worked together briefly in that alcohol business for a short while. Okay, so Fayola is a former colleague of mine. I haven't come over from, I think it was either West Indian Tobacco or Unilever, one of those companies, but I know you passed through the brewery.
I did.
You did, right. So let me start. So since Lisa started in A-levels, let me start in A-levels. I loved chemistry and biology. I did it at A-levels. So whereas all of my colleagues were saying they were going to be medical doctors, I said, well, that sounds nice, but I mean, we can't all be doctors. So I think that I would want to do something else, maybe something in food, maybe something in agriculture. I remember I was really interested in agricultural engineering at one point in time. Anyway, I had no plan for A-levels to university. So I found myself with a gap year. In that gap year, I was fortunate enough to work, guess where? At the brewery. While at the brewery for 1 year working as a lab technician, I fell in love with that industry. And that's where my career plan started. And from there, I went into university and I followed a career in university that would lead me back to the food industry. So I started with chemistry and biochemistry, but I didn't want to do that really. I really wanted to do food science and technology, which was now a master's program. So the entrance had to be the chemistry and the biochemistry. I started the program and I was fortunate enough to get a job at the brewery as a management trainee halfway through my full-time master's program. So of course I took the job. I left the master's program, moved it to part-time, and I took the job. While there, I met a very interesting gentleman who was training me. He was the shift brewer and I was training under him as a management trainee. And he shared with me that, look, I evaluate my career in roughly 5-year increments. And that's where the concept of taking a look at your career and trying to send it in a particular direction, that's where it started for me. I have kind of maintained that practice thereafter. And for me, it took me through brewing. Then I had an opportunity to change careers about halfway into my brewing career, which was about 14 years down the track. I got a job at Nestle. By then I had finished my master's in food science and technology, and I was really interested in learning more in that area. And I took the job. But the brewery weren't prepared for me to leave at that point in time. So we renegotiated, and guess what? I spent another 14 years there. The thing about it is that in that 14 years, I kept moving within that organization. And that's fine from a career standpoint. So I started to get more and more senior roles, which was supported by the fact that I went to Arthur Lockjack and I did my MBA, which was sponsored by my company. And that was something that I thoroughly loved to do. In fact, they used to have to kick me out of the school after, because upon graduating, I still kept coming back to the school. I loved doing that business so much because it's a simple fact. I reached a point where I realized that I was a technician. I knew technical stuff, but I didn't know how to manage. And I felt that, listen, everybody at some point in your career has to learn to manage. You could be a doctor, you could be an engineer, you could be a vet. At some point in time, you're going to manage people. And I didn't know how to do that. And that's where the opportunity came for me for management. And from that, I was able to eventually leave the brewery, go to the distillery. Yeah, it's kind of similar. But while there, I took up a bigger role. And eventually, I was asked to serve in the capacity of CEO acting. And I'm doing so at present.
That's really interesting. It's a different way in terms of getting into that managerial role, in terms of being very technical, and then expanding your portfolio. So that's really, really interesting. And David, how about you? In terms of did you have a career plan? Did you know where you wanted to go when you left school at O-levels or A-levels?
So good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot, Fayola. For me, in terms of a formal plan, no. Similar to Lisa, it was really just always an aspiration to do more. Strangely enough, I will go back to primary school, and if I go back to any of my books at Maloney Government Primary School or any books from QRC or St. Augustine where I did my A levels, to the back of the book would always be a page or two of my signature. So I will write my signature over and over. I will change my signature year to year. And I felt as though I would always need this signature. So I remember when I ended up in a role that saw me signing a lot of documents, I was like, this is what I was preparing for. But it was, as I went through my career, really being inspired by leaders that I interacted with, and always thinking about how I would manage in that situation. So I always tell people, even in a good or bad leadership experience, you can learn from it. Sometimes you learn what to do, and sometimes you learn what not to do. So for me, in terms of a career path, it has always been um, a desire to do more, a desire to think about the next steps, always thinking about the next steps, and just really taking every opportunity for learning that comes to me. And I'll share here with the students in particularly, opportunities are usually disguised as hard work. So they don't look like opportunities initially, right? It's always disguised as hard work. It's always disguised as something extra, but really going for those things clarified a career path for me. And even though I've been in different industries, I have consistently been in management. So my experience will span disaster management, entrepreneur support, youth development, media now in a formal way, having been a DJ in a previous life and time. And trying to draw on some of those skills. So it wasn't very formal, but it was something that was always in the back of my mind.
Okay, that's good. So I just want to say that I know Lisa gave her, well, she talked to us about SAGs, right? That's her background. You mentioned Maloney Government and QRC and then St. Augustine. Ian, you want to give a shout out to your school at all?
Of course, St. Mary's College. Oh, you mean best school in the country? I have to do that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not trying to start a war or anything because I know that
I empathize. I empathize with you, Ian.
but it's good to know, where people came from, where they started, and then how they continued in their career. There was something that Lisa had mentioned in terms of and also Ian in terms of kind of like what you were doing to prepare for what you wanted next or the next level of your career. And maybe David, you want to share in terms of how you prepared for that next level in your career?
So for me, in terms of preparing, I'll give a very structured response. It would have been three broad areas. So it would have been training, having mentors, and also being open to opportunities. So in terms of training, it would have been both formal and informal. So formally by ensuring that I did my O's, I worked for a year after O levels, and then attended a St. Augustine's football match because my friends were doing lower six and I was getting a particular level of attention in my shirt and tie. So I held a family meeting. I held a family meeting that evening and I told my parents that I needed to return to school to do A levels. Went to St. Augustine to do the A levels, realized that the interest was because of the shirt and tie and what it represented, and the interest did not extend when I was in a school uniform with everyone else. But it was still a very good experience over the 2 years. But also from there, again, taking a year to figure out what I wanted to do in terms of bachelor's, always had an interest in business, always. My mother has stories that I can't remember of selling rubber bands in primary school because my dad worked at the post office and would bring home old rubber bands and I would sell that to my friends and relatives, to having a Chinese sausage business in secondary school, Chinese sausage and other things that could be sold during class, that wouldn't smell up the class, but very small, right? But always an interest in business. having come from Maloney Government Primary School and passed for QRC, when I was in Form 1, I was doing common entrance lessons, of course, playing on the reputation of being a bright boy. So it was always that interest in business. So I was always looking for the formal support by way of training, did the bachelor's, and then came to Lockjack. Of course, had options at the time, but really felt that Lockjack was the best fit for me. And I really don't regret the decision.
I hope
Also
not.
along the journey, very important was having mentors at the various stages of the experience, reaching out to persons who have gone before, who are doing what you want to do, who have seen some level of success or who have failed, to find out what mistakes you shouldn't repeat. Even in picking up this current assignment, when I was informed that I was successful, before I confirmed, I reached out to two of my former CEOs in the public sector to have a real frank conversation with them about what the experience was like for them before I confirm with the organization that I'll pick up the appointment. And then also being open to challenges. So along the step of each step of my career, because I get the question a lot, because I am a young person in a very senior role, how did I get here? And the reality of it is, at each stage of my career, I did more than was expected of me. Right? It's not easy, it's not popular, but it has been the thing that has worked for me. I mean, even during the Lockjack experience, you'd have group assignments. It is always going above and beyond. So you're functioning not where you are, but you are functioning where you want to be. Of course, without crossing the line, without speaking out of turn, but always recognizing that you want to move closer and closer to your destiny.
Great. So I know that when you were giving your 3 points, Lisa was nodding vigorously, particularly at the mentoring side of it. Lisa, do you have any, how did you prepare for that next level? What did you do? Did you have any mentors to help you along?
So I've been actually very lucky, and that's why I smiled a lot when he said it. I would start from when I was very young, even with my parents. My father, I mean, funny enough, he was with TTT previously, but my father's always been an extremely hard worker. And he's also, once he left TTT, he himself became an entrepreneur. So it's something that I always looked at, aspired to. He was the person who I would go and talk to ask about, how to do this. When I was 17, I believe it was, during my summer vacations, I would work with him at his communications consulting firm, he would work in television, he would work doing events. So it was something that really piqued my interest. But also my mother, watching my mother, raise kids and go and do a law degree when we were 15 years old, being able to balance those two things. So I've had really great, from a parental unit perspective, really great role models in how to do a million things at the same time and excel at it, But more than that, I've been really lucky over my career to have really great mentors going through. One of them was my uncle, who convinced me. God rest his soul, he's deceased now, Oliver Flax, he's the one who convinced me to go to Arthur Lockjack. I wanted to do my master's, and I wanted to do it in marketing. That was always my goal. And I called him one evening and I said, I want to do this master's in marketing. And he said to me, listen, my advice to you is you do the international MBA. He said, the reason is because it gives you a wider view of everything. He said, you can later on do a concentration in the marketing, which is what I did. But having that broader view allows you, because I've changed careers so many times, allows you that if you want to do something else, you have that base already. Moving on in terms of mentorship, my first experience when I was working at Prestige Holdings, as I told you, I was in HR. And the truth is, I didn't like HR. I didn't, let's be honest. I didn't, I love the people that I worked with, but that was not my passion, right? I did it. It was the job that I had to do. And I was doing my master's, and I went to my CEO, who was Dane Darby at the time. And I always credit Dane for giving me the opportunity to get into the marketing side. I said, Dane, I'm not happy. I don't want to do HR. I really want to be in marketing, you know. So I'm going to leave if I don't, you know, if I'm not able to. And he said to me, Lisa, I don't want you to leave. You're a great employee. He said, so this is what I'm going to do for you. He said, I don't have marketing positions open. He said, but I will give you the opportunity. I will speak to Dennis Ramdeen at Pepper Advertising. At the time, Dennis had been close with Dane at the time. And he said, I'm going to send you across there to get practical training in marketing and in the agency side of it and that kind of thing. And when we have a position open here, I will bring you back to Prestige Holdings. So that gave me the opportunity. So, you know, I always credit Dane as giving me the foot in the door to the marketing side of it, because as you know, a lot of times if you don't have the degree in marketing and you don't have the experience, people don't give you the opportunity. I learned so much from Dennis Ramdeen at Pepper Advertising. I mean, he is really a marketing guru in my eyes. 9 months later, Dane brought me back as brand manager of KFC. And that is where I continued into the position. When I went on to Digicel, I had a lot of great mentors. Sasha Thompson, she was a female in a management position who had risen up through the ranks. Watching her do it was so inspiring, and getting to work and learn from her. But more so, I had a CEO, John Delves, who really gave me the opportunity. I mean, there were times when, I mean, anybody who knows Digicel, it is a fast-paced, you know, you come out of a meeting and you have to launch a campaign the next day, you know, but I was able to go to John many times when I was under stress. Sometimes there were tears, you know, and he would say to me, listen, I know you can do it, and this is how you do it, and so on. And even in my company right now, which is Unicomma, my boss is Faisal Murad Ali. And during the time, as you would have mentioned in my bio, I started an online clothing store, because like David, I always wanted to do more. I always looking for something to do. So apart from working, apparently I didn't like free time, right? I don't like sleeping in the night. So I started this online clothing business. And throughout all of my careers, and particularly, I have had leaders who have given me advice on both, on my careers and how to, you know, help improve my business. And my current boss is no different from that, you know. So I've really had supportive people who have given me guidance throughout the thing, given me the room to do what I need to do. And that's why I kept nodding vigorously, because to me, that is one of the most important things. And that's why even networking with people is important, asking the questions, because as I said, with Bella Bachi, which is on my online clothing store, I remember going into Faisal's office one morning and he said, why you look so tired, right? And I said, Faisal, I spent the whole weekend delivering clothes, because at the time I was delivering myself, right? I would get up on a weekend and go, and if I had to go Faizabad, and if I had to go whenever, I would go all over the place. And he looked at me and he said, Lisa, you know, you need to get a more efficient way to do it. And he actually said, this is what we do at Quartz. You could probably contact the company, which was UPS, and, you know, do all of these things, and really gave me advice. And then, of course, we went straight back into Unicomma work, right? Speaking about that. But I've been really, really lucky to have strong male and female mentorship throughout my entire career, both personally and professionally. And I think that's really important, and interacting and just asking questions is amazing, because if I didn't say that to him, for instance, I would not have gotten, you know, a solution to my business that I had not thought about before. So it's really, really important.
I hear you. So I think what's interesting about Lisa's contribution here is that the first mentors that she talked about were actually her parents. So on the panel, I believe that Ian, you might be the only parent in the group. so
Yes.
so, I mean, to say, I know that you most likely had your own mentors, and you did talk about one in Caribbery who, guided you in terms of what you should be doing, looking at career in 5-year increments. But as a parent as well, because we do have parents on the call and on the webinar here. Like, I mean, say clearly your I believe it's 2 daughters that you have, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and a son.
Understand? Okay. I didn't. Yes. So clearly, all of them may not have gone into business. But how did you guide and basically guide them and mentor them in terms of what they should do, where they should go in terms of their next steps? I mean, see, everybody's road is different. I mean, see, David talked about taking a year off. You also talked about taking a year off, returning. And the road is not a straight line. It never is. And as a parent, how do you help your child make the decision of what to do next?
Okay, so that's a great question. I will answer that question. I do want to make reference to a couple of things that David and Lisa said. The first thing is that I really believe it's important to start in an area of interest. And that, don't worry, it will connect to the story of guiding your children. It's important to start in an area of interest, all right? And if you as a young person are heading out into career, world of work, or pursuing studies, it should be in an area of interest. When you get into the job market, it's important because your first 5 years in your career determines where you're going to be. Don't worry, it's still a parent story. All right, the first 5 years in a career. If you spend 5 years working in sales, it means that when you go for your next job, you'll have 5 years of sales experience. So if you don't want to work in sales, you need to transition to get into as close to what you want to do. If you spend 5 years in banking, same thing, right? You can't move from banking into sales. That might, it might be difficult. Try to get in the first 5 years of your career into the area of interest. Coming back to mentorship. For me, my mentor would have been my father in particular, and that would have been like secondary school, pre-university period. And as I said, for me, when I then joined an organization, I met people there who were able to guide my career. And I especially want to say a special shout out or regard to Virginia Clark, who's been my mentor. Yes, a familiar name for you, Fayola, who was my mentor at Caribbery. She ended up being the director of manufacturing. She ended up being a senior executive at Caribbery, and eventually spent her entire career there, retiring from the brewery. Such was her passion for brewing. Now, so going to the parent story, the parent aspect of it, it's important as a parent to observe your children. You need to see what is their natural inclination from very young. Each child is different. If you have 2 or 3 children, you'll realize that they're very, very different. So you note what are their strengths and try to encourage those strengths. If you have a child that talks a lot, that's not a problem. That's a gift. I had a child that drew a lot. She would retire into a corner and she would draw and doodle and so on. And she did that from as long as we can remember. And this child eventually grew up into someone who, when she was in secondary school, she didn't get to do art. So she did it as an extra subject. She got to do it in A-levels. Her mother guided her and she was able to do art in A-levels, but she also did a double major in mathematics. Why? Because the mathematics gave her more time to do the art. And in the end, she graduated with what? A math scholarship. What did she do with the math scholarship? Oh, of course, she got accepted to do actuarial science at the University of the West Indies. What did she do? She promptly refused that. She went and she did visual arts. So she's following her passion. Even at a time when, as a parent, I would say I didn't know much about visual arts. So I have her in my mind's eye. I'm seeing her sketching on the side of the street or trying to do portraits or going into the countryside and becoming the next Leroy Clark. But that's not what a visual arts career is about in the modern world. The visual arts career is so much more. I myself as a parent had to understand the career in order to try and guide the child. So the bottom line is let your children follow their passion. And so all you have to do is just enable and support them. My 2 other children, the oldest daughter, She was a maths whiz, so she's doing actuarial science. The son who's the youngest, he was all about computers and so on. So he's doing computer science, he's programming, he's doing what he loves. And of the three children, the one that concerns me the most, quite frankly, is the one who's doing the visual arts, because I find that such a broad area. David, don't laugh. It's a broad area. So I'm trying to encourage her to concentrate. I don't know why David laughed at that.
My advice to you is you do the internet.
Okay. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, David. No, no, shit. So I now understand about creative careers, and now I see how broad an area that is and how exciting an area it is. You know, so the whole idea is that at the end of the day, look and see what your children are inclined to and support them. There's no straight line, as I think Lisa, as you said, Fayola, it's a winding road, right? But at the end of the day, follow your passion. And the other point I would want to make here is I believe in education and training. David said it, I believe in education and training. So you start something and you continue to educate and train yourself, and you get yourself ready for that career opportunity. That big opportunity will synthesize everything. And finally, Lisa, a big shout out to Dane Darbesi. We sat in Form 2. We sat next to each other. Dane and I go way back. Dane is interesting because Dane actually started studying actuarial science. He's a maths guy and ended up being the CEO of a company. He went from actuarial science into accounting, into being the CEO of a company. The bottom line, relevant to our discussion, you could take plenty different pathways to end up where you are. What's the bottom line? Hard work and consistency, training, development, always getting ready for the next opportunity.
Right. Fayola, if you'll just allow me to jump in,
Yeah.
allow me to hijack it a bit, just to build on something that Ian was saying. So in terms of, and I laughed, Ian, because it was the open admission of your concern for one of your children. So I'm hoping you've either had the conversation with them before or they are not on the call. But I'd say I don't think you need to be worried. And I'm not a parent, but I'm a proud godfather of 13. So I think I'm qualified
Wow.
to speak about. And I have a very personal example, and I remember it was very interesting for me at the time because I was in a song system with Eva Yongchi, who is Anya's younger brother. And at the time, Anya's interest was in the visual arts and studying the visual arts. And of course, during that period, again, it was, you know, you go into the traditional fields. And of course, with her dad being a doctor, I found that to be a very interesting trajectory because I couldn't go and tell my parents that I was interested in visual arts. I was very interested in music, but couldn't do anything formal there because how would you put food on the table? And we see that she went on to make a successful career out of what she was interested in. And there's an element of what you spoke about that Lisa also spoke about. Well, it's inherent in her story that while you look at the interest, so you don't look at what you like, but you look at what likes you, what you can do naturally, what people say you're good at. Sometimes you don't even recognize it, and people compliment you on it. But there is inherently in a lot of these things that you're good at transferability. So your foundation in science is transferable to management because that is going to help you in solving problems. You are not emotional. You will want the facts. What are the facts? What are our options? All right. And there is some research around engineers making very good managers, right? Whereas in the years gone by, they were not. And it's been proven that with the soft skills, the analytical background adds tremendous value to the job at hand, which is really making decisions based on options that are available. So it is really for the parents on the call to look at, yes, the interest, but don't be daunted if they start off in an area that you're not fully supportive of. And my parents were supportive, but they were supportive of certain things as a hobby, not as a career. Still supportive, but also look at the transferability of those skills. So, of course, being in music is being creative. And along my career path, I've always looked for the creativity in any role that I've done. So, in every single role that I've touched, whether it was public or private, there is something that I could look back on and say, I did this thing differently while I was there. So creativity can be a thread, even though it would have spanned various industries and, of course, various levels. There's always something that I could look back on and say, okay, David, you did this differently.
That's great.
And Fayola, might I just add something really quickly, just to touch on something Ian said as well. You know, it's a winding road, and you know, it is about training yourself, developing yourself. But he said it, I think he said it very early on. It's not always going to be the path that you think, right? So an opportunity, for instance, as I said, an opportunity to teach at Holingham Convent. I came home one day and my mother said, you have to, I did accounting. So of course I applied to the banks, right? You have a offer from, I can't remember the bank at the time, and Holingham Convent. Did you apply to Holingham? And I said, no. I said, well, I'll just go for the interview, you know, because, and they offered me the job and I took it. Now, I had no intention of being a teacher at any point in my time, but I do think that being a teacher helped propel me for the other things that I need to do. Managing students, managing people, you know, understanding that there are different personalities. So opportunities present yourself that may not be the perfect one that you think, but it is not necessarily something that you don't take, because there are learnings in every opportunity that you have, you know. So, and take the learning. I learned a lot from teaching. I taught with your mother actually, and she taught me a lot, just in how to manage things. And every role that I've had has taught me something that even culminated in my being able to have my own business, because now I'm in my own business. I can do my own accounting, I can do my own HR, I can do my own marketing. Yeah. So it's just, you know.
Yeah.
I will give my mother your regards. But I also want to give regards to your father, who apparently is catching the webinar live on YouTube. So a big shout out to Neil Giuseppe. Still there supporting his daughter is what I'm fed on this side.
Always.
Right. So I know that we have some questions in the chat from attendees. One of them is interesting, actually, a student who has career choices, and one of them is actually to have a clothing line, and she's confused about whether she should go on to further education at a higher education institution, who I will not name, or do A levels and complete that journey. I mean, here I know, Lisa, you are into fashion. Is there something that you want to, you know, address in terms of whether they should go into higher education with fashion, or if they should continue into A levels?
So my journey is a little bit different. I am not a designer, right? So I am a retailer of clothes. So I don't sew anything, I don't do anything. But I am always of the belief that educating yourself is always going to be a viable option. And the reason I said, because a clothing line is so much more than just selling, you know, than just buying clothes or making clothes and being able to make them and sell it. There's a huge business component of that. I mean, I just said to you, I can do my own accounting in HR. I have to do my accounting. I have to make sure that, you know, my sales, I'm making a profit. I can do the balance sheet. You know, I make sure that I'm not spending more than I'm getting. What is my profit? How much can I spend? How much can I pay, you know, my web developer? Those kinds of things. And my training and my education in all of the different facets of my life has given me the opportunity to do that. Having worked in both digital and Unicommerce doing marketing, I have learned so much within those two companies about how to even do my own personal marketing. I always believe that educating yourself is the way to go. And education does not necessarily mean a degree, or it may mean a degree depending on who it is, but there are always courses that you can do, you know, short courses. It might be 6 months, 3 months, etc. But really just constantly. I mean, even now I am in a position where, you know, but I am still constantly doing courses to learn stuff. Right now for my own business, because it's fully digital and I don't have a physical store, I am learning, doing online courses to learn, you know, search engine optimization, how to use Google to my advantage, etc. So I'm never an advocate of telling somebody to to leave something completely, but I am an advocate of telling them you can do both, you know. So nothing is saying that you can't go ahead and do your A-levels and do what you need to do to get the experience and do that on the side, because that's how Bella Battery started, literally as a side business. And I used to sell the clothes out of my trunk, you know, go to work and tell all the girls to come downstairs and sell it out of my trunk. But I was working a full-time job, and full-time meant 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. So I believe that if it is that you have that passion, I think that it is something that you should follow, but educating yourself, whatever that may be for you, whatever education that is, but it will propel you forward. So my advice would be, yes, do your A-levels, get those, you know, get what you need to get out of that. And maybe it's not a UE degree, maybe it is a course with Arthur Lockjack, because I know you do event management courses, you do, you know, management courses, short management courses, but always educate yourself. And that's something I learned from very young with both my parents. Always do that.
Fayola, if I may, I can make one short contribution to answer that question and to Lisa's comment. I absolutely agree on always educating yourself. One distinction I do make is that, you know, some, I don't know, 30 plus years or so since leaving A-levels, the world has changed, at least for me, in Trinidad and Tobago. And whereas A-levels is one pathway, there are many other pathways, some of which circumvent A-levels. If you know exactly what you want to do, you have a strong sense of it, you can, yes, continue on the education road, but it might not mean A-levels. It might mean going and do an associate degree at UE, UWI, all right? And I will share one associate degree story. I have a nephew, my sister's first son, not the oldest child, but her first son. His passion from a very young age, again, childhood music, playing and singing. He went to the same UE Creative Arts Center. He did an associate degree in performing arts, with his instrument being voice. The 2 years he spent in A-levels, he was doing that degree. He then went to a university in North America. He was bored in the university because he covered most of the program that he was doing in the university in his 2 years in UE. Why? Because UE have a good program compared to some of the American universities, and we had to go abroad to find that, but okay, we go abroad to find it. So he is going to do a full degree now, and half of what he did in the associate degree program, he's going over in the second 2 years, the 2 years left to get from associate degree to degree. So he's bored, but he gets through. He's bored, but he does the work and he gets through. So now his colleagues would have been in maybe second year university. What does he do? He immediately applies for a master's degree. He's finished the master's degree in 2 years. So his colleagues would have now been graduating from their first degree, and he's done his master's already, and he's about 23. So yes, education, not necessarily A-levels, if you know exactly what you want to do, right? It saves time. So some people, they don't know, fine. You're academically oriented, A-levels is good for you because it gives you some thinking time, some space to explore new things. But if you're naturally gifted, what did I say before? I said if your child could talk, that's a gift. If your child could sing, that's a gift. If your child could draw, that's a gift. If you have a naturally gifted child that is inclined a particular way, maybe just develop the gift. I agree in a training and education framework. I'm from the old school, but certainly develop the might or the passion. It might maybe entrepreneurship, develop the gift or the passion.
That's good. So while you're talking, there's a question from one of the attendees, and it's actually a student from the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business, Nikolai Birchu. And his question is, and I think Ian, it might fall in your area. His question is, for someone in the earliest part of their career, how important is the balance between operational specialty versus abstract skills? And when he's talking about abstract skills, I think it means in terms of preparation for leadership positions. So he says, should there be a bias towards operational excellence or start preparing for leadership positions immediately with conceptual and human skills?
Okay, my inclination is on the okay, I'll explain why, but my inclination is develop the operational skills. Okay. Becoming excellent at what you do is naturally going to make you a leader. The abstract skills will come in. That's just my personal experience. So I think the operational excellence will bring out from you, you will naturally get to that point. If you are the best at what you do, people will naturally come to you and say, well, help me with this problem and help me with that problem. The abstract and other will flow from that because you're good at what you do, right? So for me, you're now starting out in your career. I can't go and manage a complex project at that point in time. I don't have the experience. Experience builds over time. So you start, and because your bosses realize that you're good and consistent and dependable, they will start to give you more and more responsibility. So they might make you responsibility for a team. They might make you responsible for a team. They may make you supervisor. They may make you something. And with that, you get the opportunity to develop the other skills. Right? I remember, for instance, being sent on training programs. I remember what's the 1 Minute Manager and other. Those were my earliest introduction to developing supervisory management leadership skills. But they derived from the fact that I was a dependable employee, doing what was required, coming to work every day on time. And then they gave me more and more responsibility. I wouldn't sweat it. I would focus on being great at what I do. And those things will naturally flow from being great at what you do.
Excellent. So I know we have 3 minutes left. There is one other question that I think is interesting, and it's not necessarily about career path and you know, your journey. It's more leading towards COVID-19. And COVID-19, this person says COVID-19 has been a disruptor in many businesses. Has there been a shift in your business process as a result of COVID-19? And I think, you know, we have two CEOs and a regional marketing manager. You know, let's just pick your brain a little bit and see, you know, how you have adapted a little bit to COVID-19.
So Fayola, it's been significant. So for us here at TTT, from the part that the country will be able to see, we would have pioneered the virtual press conference. So prior to COVID-19, the virtual press conference did not exist in the way that it exists now in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'll take this opportunity to highlight that in terms of us now having all members of the media come in remotely via an interface to be able to interact with a panel of ministers or officials, as we do currently every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, eliminating the need for all media houses to be represented physically in the room. So that is one outward facing way that our environment has changed drastically, and it has required additional technical support that we had to put in place to ensure that that is seamless. Also internally, we have moved to implement work from home initiatives that, and I've said to particular members of the team, if I never see a graphic artist again, it will be soon enough, because no graphic artist can hand me their work physically. So whether they're in a cubicle next to me or they are sending it from the beach in Toko when the beaches are open again, they can't physically hand me their work. So therefore, that prime real estate that we have internally should be reserved for someone who cannot function outside of the building. So for any role that can be done remotely, I've signaled very early on in joining the company that we will be maintaining work from home arrangements as much as possible where it allows and where it is not impacting on efficiency in terms of access to any information internally. So those will be the two major things for us here at TTT.
Interesting. Okay, great. Ian, you want to jump in on that, and then we close off?
Sure. The work from home is one obvious one. For us, also business travel. The need for business travel could be curtailed somewhat. I'm not saying we don't need it. We need it, but we've been able to survive a year and a half without it. So that says something. Maybe I could reduce the travel budget. And the third one is in our business, a lot of our executions, our promotion of our products, locally, but especially internationally, were based on executions in bars, doing things, having events, having promotions, having shows, having events in bars. the first thing for us is that everything had to pivot now to go into the off-trade, supermarkets, wholesalers, liquor stores, etc., and also into e-commerce. So for us, that was not an area of strength because we were focused on the on-premise. So we now have developed some muscle, so to speak, in the off-premise, which is very beneficial to our business model going forward.
Absolutely interesting. Okay, and Lisa.
So given that everybody has given a corporate view, I'm going to give the entrepreneurial view of it for you from Bella Bachi. So I think what COVID-19 has taught me is how important it is to keep up with trends. I actually was really lucky having been in marketing and having that experience and coming from a telecoms background and going into Unicommer where both companies are very progressive. I mean, Unicommer, Courts has been online for, with shopcourts.com for years. So they've been preparing for that digital world before. I launched Bella Bachi's website. I was one of the first small businesses to launch a full service website. And I launched it in 2017. But it was because being in marketing, I saw the trends that the world is going to online and stuff. So I want to point out how important it is with keeping up with the trends, keeping up with the fact, where the world is moving in with technology and that kind of thing. And funny enough for me, what COVID has done is it has actually improved my business because people are not going in stores anymore. So they're looking for those retailers that provide us full store experience. Nobody has to, I have all the products online. I have the prices online. They don't have to ask me anything. It is fully self-service. If they have questions, I have a chat on my website, which was something that I saw all the international retailers do. So it's really about keeping up with the trends. So actually my business has done better during COVID than it did prior to COVID, but it is because you keep up with technological trends and see where it's going, So it has been a bit of a different experience for me. I don't want to say good because COVID-19 obviously is not a good experience, but I do think it taught me a lesson to constantly keep up with trends. And I mean, even right now, I'm redesigning the site, redesigning the experience based on problems that we did run into during COVID, during the last year and a half, and processes that we had to improve to make sure, that it's contactless, seamless and not difficult. So I'm constantly learning through the process, but, there can be some good that can be taken from having to make those changes for the better.
Excellent. So thank you very much to our three panelists, Ian Forbes, David Roberts, and Lisa Giuseppe. I think that the conversation this morning was really phenomenal, great and in-depth. And I love that Lisa closed off in terms of her own business. So before I pass you on to Kirsha, I just want to say those on the call with us today, stick around for the next panel that we have with alumni, as well as with Stefan Fellmine. These are two individuals who also have side businesses, side hustles, and are killing it in their varying games. Of course, Stefan is an edutainer, and Charles Bob Temple is the founder of Fusion Adventure Races. So this is another panel that you really don't want to miss later on. All right, so thank you very much, panelists. And I hand
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Let me say thank you on behalf of the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business to each one of you, to Ian, Lisa, and David. I appreciate the authenticity of your journeys, of your stories. And guys, could we just say thank you to each one of them? Just to highlight quickly, I'm an educator, so notes are very important. David would have said, you do not function where you are, but function where you want to be. So it's very important, students, that we're not just given the mediocre thing. No more of that. Say no to mediocre. We're about excellence. I like the fact that, Ian, you spoke about that. We need to do a 5-year review on our career. and try to get into the area that we want to, at least within the first 5 years of our career. And you know what? Allow children to be themselves and to find themselves. Ian, you know, people used to really tell me I like to talk. Look at me today. The time I really use my mother always said, this child always have something to say, always talking. And it is very important to look at those natural abilities that you have. And parents continue to support your children. And to Lisa, that mentorship is so important. And I could have really seen how those persons would have really added value to your life. And I like the fact that you're not just a regional marketing director, but you're also an entrepreneur. So you know what it is to both balance having to be in a company as well as running your own business. And I really appreciate the fact that you share that with us today. So guys, do have a blessed morning and thank you again for sharing. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So
Bye.
as we continue with our Business Day 2.0, I want to bring in now our students of the BISB program. We have students representing from cohort 1 to cohort 3 who will be sharing their stories with you. You heard from the CEOs, you heard from the regional marketing director. Now I want you to hear from the students themselves. Usually persons say, Keisha, you work in Lockjack, so you have to say that the program good. You have to say that you must start in September 2021. But I want to invite a few of our students just to share their own experience during this program. So I have Renelle Grandison from cohort 3. Renelle, so good to have you. I have Julia Harry Prasad, who's a cohort 1 student. She's also one of our student ambassadors. I have Kadeen Douglas, who is from cohort 3. Jaleese Grant. Jaleese, if you are there, she is our cohort 2 student, as well as I have Lyndon Pierre. If Lyndon is in, guys, you'd have to put on your cameras to come into the conversation so that we can, all right. So I have Angel or Jaleese, also known as Angel for cohort 2, and Lyndon, which is our cohort 3. He's the only male today. We had one more person, but he was unable to attend, but we have our students represented. Guys, go ahead and just request to unmute your mic as we start this conversation. All right. So Julia, I want to start off with you. I remember when we would have started this program in September of 2018. So just to give a little backstory, as you know, the Lockjack GSB would have been doing postgraduate programs for many years. And in 2018, April of 2018, we launched this undergrad program. And Julia is one of those students that would have taken that leap of faith straight out of CXC to do this program. Julia, can you give us an understanding as to why you moved from CXC straight into university and why the BISB program for you?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you well.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, Keisha. So when I was in Form 5, I realized I didn't really want to do Form 6 because I was doing business subjects. And my dad told me there wasn't really a place to learn business in Form 6 because you would probably be learning similar things in university if you're doing the same thing. And I come from a big family of entrepreneurs, my dad, my grandma, basically my whole family. So I wanted to skip Form 6. I wanted to get ahead, and Lockjack was the place for me.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Jaleese? 2019, taking the plunge to come in to the Lockjack GSB. What was that transition like for you moving from secondary school to university?
Well, as one of the oldest students, more mature students, taking place in the BISB program, I had initially decided that I wanted to do medicine. And I kind of had a moment where I was taking stock of life and where I wanted to go in life and looking at the natural skills that I had. and I decided to go with Art of Luck Jack because of the quality of education. And I said, this is definitely the program for me. And the fact that it's international business, I saw the caliber of persons that came out from Luck Jack over the years, and I said, that's for me. I want to be like them. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, Ronell. Now, Ronell is a cohort 3 student. And again, context is very important. When we got into lockdown in March of 2020, there was nothing on campus. So Julia and Jaleese understood what it meant to be on campus students. But then the lockdown happened, and now we have to do online school. Ronell, how in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of going to school online, you still decided I wanted to be a part of the Lockjack GSB in the BISB program. Help me to understand that transition for you.
Morning, everyone. Firstly, actually, before the pandemic started, probably around October 2019, I actually attended an informational session on campus at Lockjack, similar to this, where they would, explain to you what the course entails and stuff. And what really caught me was the fact that Lockjack has a very hands-on approach to business, and I felt like no other school could really offer me that kind of experience. So after attending the informational session, I decided this is where I wanted to be because I'm very into business, and I felt as though with the courses and the opportunities available, it would be ideal for me. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to have my first year done completely online and not meeting any of my classmates and stuff, but it's definitely something that I was able to work around, and I'm still really glad that I made the decision.
All right. Kadeen, what about you?
Well, for me, the transition was not that bad going to online. I mean, it would have been scary initially because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, just like Renelle mentioned, that I don't know if I could do this, not seeing anybody, not being in a physical school, but Lockjack actually made the transition a lot smoother. And for example, with these activities like Business Day, they just transition everything online, and that kind of helped to make everything run smoother and made you feel that it wasn't as overwhelming as it seemed to be.
All right. Lyndon, can I hear from you? What was your process like coming into the Lockjack GSB?
I think, I actually was a little hesitant in attending university, especially in Trinidad. I think I had some friends attending Lockjack, and they kind of persuaded me that this was the choice. And then after looking at Lockjack, I realized, okay, that this is the best choice for me. And when COVID happened, it's COVID, and I think Lockjack helped easy to facilitate like the ease of online learning now compared to other institutions. And I think they made it easy that you wanted to come to class to learn now. I think I really appreciate that from them.
Right, good. So when we consider business as a career, because there's so many different areas that you can get into. There's medicine, there's modern languages, there's sciences. Jaleese, when you think about why business for you, there are so many different options. How did you come to the point where you said, okay, I think business is where I want to go as an individual, whether that is working within the corporate environment or doing my own business as an entrepreneur? What was that process like for you?
Well, I would like to believe that I would have seen some management skills in myself. My entire family agreed with me when I decided to do business. They were like, that sounds more like you. And I was like, but I want to learn how to manage the right way. I want to learn from persons that are already experienced so that I'm not just walking around being bossy in wherever I end up in life. And I thought that Lockjack would help me hone in the proper management skills and that I would have a good foundation in terms of management in general, which in essence to me is what business really is, because business could take you into any field. I could still end up back in medicine after doing this international business degree, but it really teaches you proper management skills.
Understood.
Yeah.
Ronelle, I know Ronelle is a big boss where entrepreneurship is concerned. Yeah, she thought. Ronelle, help me to understand why business as a career for you.
Yes. So as I said previously, I am very into business. I co-own a skincare company with my mom, so that's more of a family business. And I recently launched a social media marketing and management agency called Ring Social, which I actually got the push to do from Lockjack itself because we did marketing, and I really realized, just like Lisa, that I really, really love being in that environment. So it's really seemed like the obvious choice. I felt like I was able to get the necessary tools that I needed. Anything that I would have been missing on paper. My family would always say that I have a knack for business. I was always trying to sell something. I can't even explain to you guys how many business ventures I've had in
No,
my.
explain it, explain it. Let's go into it. If we have in the conversation, be as real as possible. Ronald, how many businesses you started?
So I do this thing where if I realize something is trending or something could make a profit, there's a high chance I'd probably try to sell it. So I remember I had like a slime business. So I would like sell slime to people when that became popular. Just like anything at any minor inconvenience. For a while I was selling like scrunchies and little packaging for small business owners. Like I was doing the most. But Rin Social is, for me, I feel like that's it. I definitely want to, it's specifically targeted to young entrepreneurs like myself, because in an online environment, running a business, especially during the time of COVID, it's very difficult to set yourself apart from the competition. And I realized that young people would start businesses, they'd make an Instagram, and then it's like, now what, They don't have any ideas of marketing funnels and how to convert people to customers and all of that. So I got the starting points, I guess, from Dr. Dindial, because we did marketing principles in year one. And then I also did some additional courses. So I could be as equipped as possible to help other people through whether it's hands-on assistance or just educating them in general. So yeah, Lockjack has definitely kind of pushed me further in that direction in terms of my entrepreneurial journey.
Good. So it means that we are not just looking at the theory of marketing, but you're also understanding what it means to take marketing principles and apply that into a business. And I want to talk about that for a little while, because Dr. Dindial would have shared in terms of the courses and what you're able to do from year one now to year three. Julia, when you look at the most impactful course for you thus far, what is that course and what would it have done for you at this point in time?
Well, this is really cool to talk about. I mean, all of the courses, of course, have been impactful. But one that specifically comes to mind is I recently got an internship through the school, and I had to do a presentation on smart technology and how we could make the business smart. And when I was doing my research, I realized this is exactly what I learned in my management of information systems class with Mr. Fahim Mohammed. And I was just like, oh my God, I know everything. So I made this presentation, I presented it to the vice president, and he said, Julia, this is the best presentation we've had from a new worker ever. I was just like, wow, look at what Lockjack has done for me.
Can you hear it for Julia, guys? Can you hear it for Julia there? If you have your emojis, can we hear it for Julia? Good job. Go ahead.
Thank
right
you.
ahead. Right. So you're saying that the vice president, he was really blown away. So what was that presentation like for you in terms of the preparation, recognizing that, oh my gosh, so exactly what I would have learned, I'm able to apply. What was that process like for you?
Well, first I was like, oh my God, I know nothing about technology. What can I do for these people to make them, like me? This is my first presentation ever. And then, so I'm looking up augmented reality, and I'm like, wait, let me check my notes. And I'm like, oh, augmented reality, virtual reality, robotics, AI. I was like, wow, I could everything in my notes is everything I can present. So it just worked perfectly.
Right. Thank you. What about you, Lyndon? When you think about you're just a year one, you started off in year one, you would have done a few courses. What course so far has really helped you to think about a hands-on approach to business?
Yeah, for me it was marketing because one, it introduced us to a business plan and it allowed us to fully like watch our business and I realized that this could work or that could work or we should have this and we should have that. And also I believe that marketing is a way that people could creatively. I always was into creativity and it allows me to use that talent to create solutions to like attract customers. So I think that was very major and it really stood out among the rest for me.
All right, thank you. What about you, Kadeen?
For me, I don't know if everybody else could agree on this, but I would say self-awareness and leadership, mainly because I think, especially at this stage, self-awareness is a very important thing. You need to know who you are, how you react in certain situations, and how you could apply yourself based on the scenario that you are given. And even looking at some of the assignments that we were given, like assessing and reporting on big CEOs with well-established companies. And to me, that was a motivator that gave me that little push because seeing this happening in real life, I'm like, okay, I really want to do this. I want to be this type of business owner where people could look up to me. And yeah, so I would say self-awareness and leadership was definitely a very impactful course for me.
All right, and that's very important, especially for persons in business. It's very important, yes, to have the operational skills and the skills that will help you to continue to grow. But nobody wants to work with somebody who is always grouchy or you have no good behavior. You're not really pulling your weight where the work is concerned. We will get into the group work talk just now, and I want all it to be very real. I see in the smiles. But it is very important as an individual to be aware of yourself and how you react to things, as you're saying, Kadeen, because that is what will help you as you grow as a leader. Jaleese, what about you? An impactful course that really has assisted you in applying hands-on approaches to business.
For me, it would be definitely organizational behavior. I did that with Dr. Enika Joseph. That course was amazing for me, transformative, because I learned the favorite thing that I like, how to manage individuals in an organization or in a workplace. Persons come to work with different issues, different things that they have dealing with in life. And you have to now learn how to take those persons despite all the other stuff that they have going on in their background and make that work for you and your business, your company, in order to take the company forward. Disagreements are going to happen. There are going to be days when random stuff happen in human life. And with organizational behavior, it shows you like the different concepts that you could incorporate into your business to make sure that, persons are not burnt out and just overall ways that you could take your business to the next level, utilizing the employees in the right way.
Right. So we're talking about people. You see, people management. You see, managing people is very important. Why?
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with different personalities. And the thing about the Lockjack GSB program is that once you start in year one, we are putting you into a group. And a lot of students, when they talk, they're like, Miss, I don't want to do that, You see them group work thing? I prefer to do my individual assignment. I said, no, we have to show you the reality of life. When you get into the world of work, you do not choose who you're going to work for. You're going to choose who you're going to work with. You have to find a way by which you can deal with the different personalities while getting your job done. Even as an entrepreneur, once you're dealing with people, you still have to learn the different personalities. So let's talk about group work for a little while. And guys, I want you to be real. Talk to me. I'm just watching Renel's face right now. Renel, talk to me about group work in the BISB program.
All right. So, okay. So My experience with group work in the program, well, firstly, I want to say that Kusha is right when she says that when you enter into the world of work, you don't get to choose your colleagues, your co-workers. So putting you into that position where you have to work with people and it's for the entire year, it's not for a month or for one specific subject, it's all through. So if you clash, it has no such thing as switching groups and doing this anything. You just have to figure it out. For us, with it being online, we had about a week to choose our group members, and it was all through an online experience. So we couldn't really determine anyone's work ethic or the actual personalities, really, because obviously it's the first week of school. Everyone is nice and joyful and trying to be friends with everybody. But when the group project starts to kick in and you realize some people, they're working, they're diligent, anything you ask of them, they get it done and they get it done within the stipulated time period. You're like, okay, wow, great. And then you have other group members where you have to ask them for things 1, 2, 3 times. And then when they submit work, 99% of it is plagiarized. So now you have to do their work because you don't want to get a bad tin mark. And it's a lot of stuff. But what I did appreciate was that the faculty at Lockjack actually do these things where they have like group meetings. So they bring the groups together and they actually talk to you and say, okay, if you have any problems, how can you guys sort it out? How can you work around it? So even with me coming on to the last few weeks or months in the year, I was having some issues with my group or a particular member. And I remember talking to Dr. Dindial, talking to Sanita, and like really trying to gauge what could be the solutions. And it really helped the process because I felt like, okay, I didn't really have to go through what I was going through alone. But overall, though, even though my year one experience wasn't as seamless as I would have liked it to be, I definitely learned a lot, not only about other people, but about myself and my ability to manage and my ability to be patient. Because I'm a person that I really like things done in a particular way. So when it doesn't happen, I tend to get stressed out. But I was able to actually kind of maneuver and really learn how to manage myself and my work and everything much more effectively.
All right, Jaleese, what about you? How has group work been for you as a cohort 2 student?
All right, so Renal, I had the opportunity to go into school, meet my colleagues, and we got to choose groups in person. And we ended
Just
up
not Jaleese. I feel as though Renal going on attack me there for a little second. Renal, it is not our fault. The pandemic happened. We really desire that you guys will be on campus, but oh gosh, go ahead, Jaleese, go ahead.
And I ended up in a group with similar persons, and all of us were bossy. So I just want to tell Renal, being able to choose your people in person, it doesn't matter because sometimes group work is hard. We had some assignments where the group work was really hard. We had some assignments where the group work was easy, like it flowed seamlessly. You could tell in the projects that we worked well together. And I just want to say that in life, you're going to end up in situations where you don't mesh with everybody, but you have a common goal. And at the end of the day, you just have to get it done. Yeah. So this person may not be able to show up in that moment, right? I don't take it personally. I take it as maybe they have something going on that they can't talk about or deal with, and I get it done. And then after I deal with, the repercussions of holding them accountable or going through the direct sources, I also want to note that Lockjack has a peer review system for every assignment. So there are ways to hold people accountable. And I think we all have leadership skills in us. So you have to lead by example. If other persons are not stepping up to the plate and you're seeing where something is time sensitive, you just have to get it done.
Right.
Group work is hard and easy.
Very good. So it means that as a business professional or somebody that is coming up, that is very important to know how to separate personal from professional. as much as, yes, we are within a group and you may want to bring on your friends, it's very important that at the end of the day, you keep the goal at hand. We know that we have an assignment due. It is due on the 30th of August. Let us get it done. And sometimes you have to buff your friends. How do you do that? Don't let me say buff, but correct. You sometimes have to discipline, bring persons to a place of awareness where, here, what you need to be doing a bit better, or even commending persons. Hey, you're doing a great job. Julia, have you ever encountered anything like that where you either had to discipline or give commendation to any of your group members? And how did you deal with that as a student?
Actually, yes. In my first year, my group was working pretty well together, but some people just weren't performing as well as the others. And it was kind of tough because at that point, all of us were literally best friends. Like we would go out and eat together with best friends. So the ones that were really doing work, we sat down together. We're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna make a big scene about it. Just tell them to come, meet with you for lunch, and explain to them that they're not performing as well as they should be. And so I sat them down and I said, everybody else in the group is doing more work than you are, and it's not fair. And they said, I really didn't realize that that was happening. Thank you for telling me. And for the rest of the year, we just did amazingly because everybody had their own input.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's talk about the support. The support at Lockjack GSB is very important to us. So when we look at the admissions team or the recruitment team, we have both Natasha and myself starting off the students. Then you go into student administration where we have Abigail, we have Neri and Sunita, and of course, Dr. Dindial as program manager. Kadeen, when you look at that transition from admissions, dealing with Natasha and I at the beginning, and then your student administrators, what was that admissions process like for you?
Well, firstly, I have been speaking with Kisha since probably about 2018. I can't remember if I was actually in Form 5 as yet or if I was in Form 4 going into Form 5. And I remember talking to Kisha at least every week, and I was so excited then, but just something about it. I think I needed the extra time, and that's why I did Form 6. And the transition between administration to now working with and communicating with Dr. Dindial, it has been pretty smooth. There's still communication with Kisha here and there, but I have no complaints at all. Everything when the process was very, as I said before, very smooth, and yeah, no complaints.
All right. Lyndon, what about you? What was that? What in terms of support from staff,
Yeah,
even your faculty?
Definitely, Kisha is the boss. But
oh gosh, all the don't put me up soon.
But
put me up like that,
yeah,
Lyndon.
because I had a lot of peers about Lockjack, and I think Kisha was very facilitating. Even though I think at that time she would say ways, but this man may be pissing me off. But she was very facilitating. And even Dr. Dindial, because I had like for business I had for a future business. No, sorry, for my personal business. I went to Dr. Dindial and he was willing and to set up a time and to assist. I could do certain things to improve, optimize my business, and I was really grateful for that. So I think Lockjack, the good thing about Lockjack, everybody supports you. So don't matter if it's a life problem or if it's a business problem, well, as long as you enter the family, you will always have that support.
All right. Ronald, I see you shaking your head there. Don't just shake your head, talk to me.
Yes, so I did Form 6 at Bishops East, big up Bishops one time, and I had a really enjoyable Form 6 experience because the faculty at Bishops are extremely supportive. Like they get very engaged in like your personal life. If you're not doing well, they want to know why, they want to help. Right? So I took the gap year, and then when I came into Lockjack, the admissions experience with you, Kisha, obviously we all know it was amazing. You are a joy to be around, not just trying to hype you up. but but in terms of Sunita and Dr. Dindial, I really appreciated how if I had any problem or any members of my cohort, because I'm cohort representative, if I had an issue and my cohorts would bring it to me, I bring it to them. They are so eager to resolve your issues and just make sure that you have a good experience. And I feel as though, even though me, Kadeen, Linda, even though our experience has been online, I feel as though the faculty and the administrative part of it, and just them really showing you that, hey, we care about you as a student, it really has made the experience much, much different. Like, there's a certain level of comfort I feel like you won't get at any other tertiary education, tertiary institution in Trinidad right now. So it was really, really great.
All right, thank you so much. So let's talk about how do you balance as a student, because you have exams, you have assignments, you have to still attend classes. Some of you have your businesses at the side. For someone who's thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm not too sure how I'm going to do it. How do you manage or balance your time when you have so much different responsibilities as a student? Julia, I will start with you.
Well, obviously, Lockjack and university as a whole is not the same as high school. So you are going to have to put in extra effort to do that. But my advice would be get sleep. Too many people I see, staying up all night studying and, they're tired all day, can't pay attention in class. Go to sleep at night, You schedule your day, make time for studying, make time for homework, make time for assignments, and sleep at night. That would be my advice.
All right, Jalise, what about you?
I would have to agree with Julia. Definitely get rest. I'm not saying don't pull an all-nighter, but I'm saying make sure you get enough rest and everything else would work itself out. You definitely have to probably use time slots and, but budget your time the same way with budget money, manage your time properly, create a schedule for yourself, but remember to factor in rest and nutrition.
All right.
I think those are the two important things, and you'd be amazed at your brain capacity once you get enough rest, because you can't function without enough rest.
All right, thank you. Kadeen, what about you? How do you manage?
So for me, I don't think anybody mentioned it thus far, but I am a person, just like a lot of other Trinidadians, you would want to go online, you would want to go out with your friends, you would want to hang out and, get that entertainment part in. And it's very important, as Julia and Jalise mentioned, that you need to budget your time. You need to literally sit down, and if it is you have to make a timetable and organize, okay, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do this there, you need to do that. And you also, like they also mentioned, to get your rest. For me, I don't, sorry to say, but I don't allow anything to come in between when I have to take my rest, and I get everything done. You have to plan and you have to set that time aside, or else you will send yourself crazy.
I get you. Renal, what about you? How do you manage, especially the fact that you are running Rent Social, you're a student, you have the family business, but you still have to ensure that your assignments are there on time. How do you manage as a student?
Yeah, so I honestly have a bit of an unorthodox approach. I've been like this since secondary school. And because it's been working in my favor so well, I'm like, oh, I guess I shouldn't change it. Because where academics are concerned, I guess it's a blessing, but I'm kind of able to don't take my advice on this. This is just me. But I really am able to, my brain is kind of like a sponge. So I take in a lot of information just by listening. So I don't really study, emphasis on study. I don't really study as much, I guess, as like other people would, like how they have a set time to like review their notes and stuff. I don't really do that. I would just probably look through the PowerPoint slides, because Lockjack has everything at your disposal. They have the class is recorded. So if I miss something, I need to remember, I just like watch it over and stuff. But when it comes to assignments, I don't play with my assignments at all, because having to experience Turnitin and at 11:59 you can't submit anything that was new for me. I'm accustomed, like, you know, if I don't bring an assignment today, I could just talk to my teacher and she'd be like, yeah, bring it tomorrow. But not with Lockjack. So how it works is, once I get an assignment, whether it's group or individual, I prioritize that immediately and I get it done as soon as possible. The tendency to do something last minute, especially when you have to submit on a time basis and once it's gone, that it gives me too much anxiety. So I do my assignments first. If we have like an assessment coming up, I guess it's a bit different since we're online. If we do have an assessment coming up or quiz or something, I would review accordingly. And when it comes to my business, well, Rin Social is fairly new. I've only been officially operating for about a month. My intention by the time school starts is actually to scale the business a bit and have most of the things automated, so I'm not required to give so much of my time. But obviously with anything, you just kind of have to know what you want and manage your time to suit, like everyone else said. It is not going to be easy, obviously, but priorities and just get it done.
All right, thank you so much. You see that 11:59? I think any university student will understand 11:59. If you try to submit your assignment at 12:01, and your Turnitin is 25 or 30%, please, it is not happening. 11:59, understand that time. Guys, as we wrap up our conversation this morning, Lyndon, if it's one word of advice that you can give to someone who is considering pursuing the BISB program for September 2021, what will that be? One word of advice.
I think if you're really interested in pursuing, I see you're here and break up on your end.
Yeah, no, you go right ahead.
Okay. So if you're really interested in pursuing business, and especially in Trinidad, I believe that is the best opportunity for you, because one, you would acquire links as well as the individuals you would meet and the network you would meet within the school. It would also help you later on in life, plus the education and stuff like that. And we have a degree. We have the option to complete degree at FIU. So I think as a business student, I think it's the best option for you. And that is just my opinion, but I think it's the best option for you.
So, Lyndon, that's a beautiful opinion to have. And it's very true for students who you want that continued international experience. You have the opportunity to do your final year at the Florida International University. And we were supposed to have Varen Mahadeo on with us today, but he is actually on his way to Miami at this time, as he took the opportunity to do our dual degree program. So for persons who are seeking that option, it is there for you. Thank you so much, Lyndon. What about you, Kadeen? One word of advice to someone who is considering doing this program.
I would say definitely. Whatever you have in your head, just always make sure that the end result is coming to Appalachia. Like Lyndon mentioned, it is the best option in Trinidad. I have spoken with other schools in Trinidad, and no other school could have sold me like Appalachia. I'm not just saying that because I'm going to this school, but actually being a part of the family and seeing it come to life, it is the best experience ever. So just always make sure that the end result is coming to Atalanta.
All right. Thank you, Renelle. What about you? One word of advice to someone who's considering this option.
My one word of advice would be to make the choice And when you make the choice, take advantage of all the opportunities that LoveJack has to offer. I think we fail to mention how many, just like something like this, like Business Day, and bringing people to speak to you about business, those opportunities are none like any other. We had a networking event the other day with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Like, what other school gives you that opportunity to ask a Prime Minister questions? So that is crazy for me. And for someone like me who's interested in business and just really wants to make a name out there for myself, this has been the best decision ever. And I really feel like once you make that choice, you won't regret it at all.
All right, Jaleese, talk to me. One word of advice.
Right. So when I did my research, I discovered that Atalakchak was the best business school in the region, and that made me want to go here. I looked at all the leaders that came out of it, and I would definitely say do it. As Renal said, if you want to make a name for yourself, Atalakchak places you in strategic positions to do so. You want to start a business, they help you closely, they introduce you to, like, what school do you know where you could just go up to a CEO and say hi and introduce yourself, and they encouraged us to do that. Like, you would see the CEO of these big companies and you could just walk up to them and have a conversation and they pay attention to you because you're within the doors of Asalakjak. The opportunities are amazing, and I think that anybody who has the chance or the means to do so should definitely take advantage of it.
Thank you. Julia, as a student ambassador who has experienced a lot of different things at the LoveJack GSP, and feel very free to share that as well. What is one word of advice that you have for students who are considering joining in September 2021?
I would say to students who are considering out of LoveJack that if you want to go to the place that will give you the most opportunities, LoveJack is the place to go. First of all, you get UEID, so you have access to all of UE's facilities. Second of all, they give you experiences that you could not get anywhere else. They sent me to Brazil to represent Trinidad and teach Trinidadian culture to international students. They even had students from French Guyana come to Trinidad and come to LoveJack, and we were able to talk to them. It's truly an international experience. And just being a student ambassador, I'm here talking to everybody here today. I was able to MC an event. It's really to get you out of your shell, and it's really like no other.
Right, and Julia, you would have started your internship as well.
Yes, I did start my internship last month, and I have one more month to go, and it's so fun. I love it. It's really such a good experience. The people are so nice, and they're actually really impressed with my work ethic. So I would blame that on the school too.
All right. Somebody's asking what company are you with, Julia?
Rams Logistics.
She's at Rams. Okay. So I just want to open up the floor for any questions. If you have any questions for our students, I see Nikolai. Nikolai is one of our students as well. He said, if I could, the major thing that I would recommend about the LoveJack GSB is the networking opportunities. That even if you don't particularly want to do business or know where you want to end up in life, grasp the opportunity to network with a huge chain of alumni and associates. He said, in my opinion, it's equal to or greater than the education itself. Thank you so much, Nikolai, and to all our students, to Renal, Julia, Kadeen, Jaleese, and Lyndon. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, we have our campaign going on. You're a business student today, but what are you looking at tomorrow? What is that thing that you are striving for, that goal that you want? So, Jaleese, I will start with you. Business student today.
Business student today, entrepreneur tomorrow.
Ooh, can we hear it for Jaleese, guys? Kadeen, talk to me.
Business student today, a restaurant owner tomorrow.
Oh, good. All I'm looking for real food. Oh, all I know when we're ready to celebrate. Y'all know I like to eat. We're going by Kadeen's restaurant. I love it. Julia, talk to me.
What was it?
Business student.
Business student today, international business owner tomorrow.
Julia, I'm just saying when you're going to Italy and Dubai and Australia, just remember just little occasion in Trinidad. That's what I'm saying.
Of course.
Good job, good job. Lyndon, talk to me.
Same as Julia, in business student today, international business student. So,
Ooh, can we hear it for Lyndon? And we have Renelle. Renelle, talk to me.
Business student today, serial entrepreneur tomorrow.
All right. So can we hear it for Renelle? Guys, thank you so much for such a beautiful conversation and sharing your experience with us as a student of the BISP program. Guys, I could not have made it up. I could not have made it up at all. As I said, usually they say, Kisha, you work in Lockjack, you have to say good things, but you heard it from our students themselves and the experiences that they have. And I want to thank each one of them for taking the time to share with you. So you may be considering, what is my next step? What would I like to do where my career is concerned? If business is what you're thinking about, Lockjack GSB is the place for you. Fayola and I have a little something there. Faye, are you there at this point in time? Let me bring Fayola, why are you
Oh my
why
God.
are you like that?
Are you gonna sing your song?
Guys, I don't know if I want to sing this song right now. If business is what you want to do, Lockjack GSB is the place to be. So come here, don't go over. I don't know, you can complete that song and say, come right here, don't go over. So Lockjack GSB is the place for you. So we have our second panel discussion and Fayola will lead the conversation here. So Fayola, I hand over right to you.
Thanks a lot, Keisha. That was a very, very enjoyable conversation with the students. It's great to see you all. You know, some of you I have taught you, and then others I've only seen you through digital means, but it's great to see you. So we do have our second panel, and it's good to hear, you know, the students talk about networking being so very important, and alumni and students that they meet, you know, helping to build, you know, their network and their community. And so we continue with this panel. We have another alumni joining us. And this alumni is actually Charles Bob Semple. And Charles Bob Semple is an accomplished, results-driven professional with notable success directing and project leading a broad range of corporate IT systems. And while participating in planning, analysis, and implementation of solutions in support of business objectives. He's previously worked at Micro Software Designs Limited, as well as the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. He's excellent at providing state-of-the-art system analysis, design, redesign. He has a BSc and an MSc in computer science from UE, and he has an MBA from Lockjack GSB. At present, he is the acting CEO, I believe it is, at National Information and Communication Technology Company Limited, otherwise known as iGovTT. And in addition to all of that, Charles is also the founder and race director of Fusion Adventure Races and the vice president of the, is it Abilene Wildcats Athletic Club? Yeah?
Correct, Abilene Wildcats.
Okay, great. All right, great. So thank you very much, Charles, for joining us. And the other person on the panel is not an alumni of Lockjack GSB, but we love him just the same because he is an alumni of UE, and we are all part of the UE family. So welcome, Stefan. Stefan Felmine is an edutainer, and I love how that has evolved. I really hope this is like a full-time career for you eventually, edutainer. You may know Stefan from his alphabet series on TikTok. So Stefan is a dexterous and imaginative educator with 10 years of professional experience in the disciplines of macroeconomic forecasting, knowledge development, statistical analysis, project management, and communication. He is known as a social media personality, particularly here in Trinidad and Tobago, for the Trini Alphabet. And he is the curator of the Trini Alphabet Chart, an advocate for building employer branding, equality, equity, and justice. He's a human resource spokesperson for ethical considerations and talent management. And Stefan's active role in social media community fostered the edification of Trinidad's culture on an international level. So Stefan's combined creativity and passion for learning revolutionized teaching methods in a pandemic, and his dedication to knowledge development influenced him to become an entrepreneur, teaching students and helping shape future generations. So Stefan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's always good to see, people, helping education evolve.
Definitely.
So, just like with the last panel, before we start, I do want to do a little poll from the people who are here with us. So I'm going to move into our second polling. All right. And you should see it come up. And the question that we have today is, do you have a hobby that you want to turn into a business? All right, so I'll leave it up for just a minute. All right, do you have a hobby or something that you like to do that you actually want to turn into a business? In the last panel, we listened to Lisa talking about her interest in fashion, not that she's a fashion designer, but, she created Bella Bachi. And we have two gentlemen here who are, quite frankly, killing it with their side hustle, right? Okay. All right, so I'll just give it like 10 seconds more and then I'll close the polling. All right. And I do think there is an overwhelming, majority here in terms of, everybody has, a hobby that they want to make money from, or, there's that thing, people talk about now, having multiple streams of income. And yeah. All right. So, but before we get into, that side of things, perhaps, you all could tell me about what you do in your official day jobs. All right. So maybe we can start with Charles, and you could talk about iGovTT and exactly what you're doing there,
Sure.
and how, your career kind of segued into where you are at this point in time. And then we'll hear Stefan and his career journey.
Sure, no problem. So I appreciate the opportunity and great discussion so far. So I am the acting Chief Executive Officer at iGovTT. At iGovTT, we're responsible for all of God, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, for providing technical advisory services, project and contract management, procurement of ICT. We also implement and maintain enterprise-wide ICT solutions. And additionally, through that, we do have an arm that is outward facing to the public, that is TT Connect, where we provide citizens services to the citizens via our online portal, the live agents. There's a chat facility, we have bots and so on, as well as, in the non-pandemic time, service centers where persons could walk in for services. My opportunity here, I didn't start off as a CEO, I started off as what we would term as a manager. And then opportunities arose, I interviewed for it, and I moved into a head position. And more opportunities came by, and then I was deputy CEO. And at present, I'm the acting Chief Energy or Executive Officer. What I really like about my job, my role, it is a lot, because being a Chief Executive Officer requires a lot, especially for when you're overlooking things for the country. But in the role here, what I'm really, really thankful for is a collaborative culture, is a culture where is more on the family side of things, and is a purpose-driven culture. So Fayola, that is it with regard to some information about my day job and what I do, and then I guess I'll share a bit more on the hobby, and so on.
Okay, great. So Stefan, I know that everybody knows you from the Trini alphabet, but you do have a day job, right? And a very important one at that.
It is, yes. So good morning, everybody. All protocols observed. Thank you so much, Fayola, for having me. And a special morning to my colleague as well, my co-colleague here, Charles. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, boss.
So my name is Stefan Feldman. You all may know me as Stefan23 on TikTok or my social media. But my core job is being a teacher 3 assigned to the Morval Aventil Secondary School, the best secondary school in the country. I don't want to hear nothing else. Morval Aventil Secondary School, the best school in the country. So my day job is basically imparting knowledge to the youth today. You know, I mean, with this online thing, it really changed the way that traditional teaching has moved to this online platform. I mean, teachers now, we have to do so much more than what we were accustomed to, especially the older generation, especially who are not technologically savvy, right? So imparting knowledge and delivering a curriculum nowadays is totally different. But I mean, teachers are resilient people. We come up, we have the lecturers, teachers, everybody who in this educational thing, we are resilient. So we learn to adapt to changes. And yeah, we do what we had to do. Some people might think teaching is just about delivering a curriculum, but it's also about dealing with social ills and having that emotional presence for students, etc. So first thing when people say teacher, they say, all right, you coming in a classroom, you delivering this subject, that is it. No, that is just half of it. The next half is being that emotional person for those children who do not have that emotional support and being there for them. You are that parent when the parent is not there. These children, when you see a child in a classroom, do not assume that that child come to school with a breakfast. Don't assume that that child come happy to school, you know. So the teacher being the first point there, make sure that you have that capacity to deal with a situation like that. So yes, making funny videos and making a fool of myself on the internet is one thing, but my core thing is dealing with the country's children and trying to make a difference, as I say, especially to the best school in the country, Morval Aventil Secondary. Big up the whole community of Morval Aventil.
Yeah. So Stefan, I feel like almost like crying because no, simply because, you know, for me, I do believe in education. There's a reason why I work in education. And I believe education changes lives. And it's always good to see a passionate teacher, someone who understands the value that you make, not just in terms of the work that you teach, but also the impact that you make in their lives. And I think everybody has a teacher that they could remember.
Definitely,
who had a lasting impact, if not in primary school, in secondary school, who kind of put them on a certain path or made them believe in themselves or something like that. So yeah, so it's for me, it's a passion. So I absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Charles, you could talk a little bit about Fusion Adventure Races and how that started up, and if it really was supposed to be the big thing it is now, or if it was just going to be like a nice get together with your friends.
Yeah.
Well, how did that come about?
Well, first off, I'm thinking to stop Fusion and become a teacher now because Stefan encouraged me so much.
That too much pressure, boy. Too much pressure.
Oh my gosh. But Fusion was really birthed as an idea we had in 2006 to really share with persons some of the experiences that we had in learning about the outdoors. So I love nature, but I wasn't aware any trails existed or anything like that, right? So we wanted to introduce others. So we were like, you know what, let us host a race, 4 persons on a team. We'll invite a lot of persons from the company. That was when I was at the Port Authority. And we'll just, send random invites to different companies. And so we started in 2007, 14 teams of 4. And it was nice when by Maracas Beach, we came over into St. Joseph. That was one leg, went up to Iltokuch, flew a Chiquichong kite, that'll make a Chiquichong kite, fly it on the top, come down, run the savannah, and race finish, right? It's really a sprint team adventure race, if you wanted to understand it internationally, and internationally requires 4 persons. It is now the premium adventure race in the entire region, probably the whole Western Hemisphere in terms of numbers. And the concept behind Fusion was just what the word means, a number of pieces coming together to make a whole. And in that process, creating a lot of energy. Now, the number of pieces we have will be the volunteers, our team persons, athletes, the man of the street, sponsors, anyone come together and make something release much energy from it. And part of our slogan is when you cross the finish line, you'll know a little more of yourself. You will know, just as, you know, Renelle and they were sharing in the panel, some of the challenges they experience in being in a team. And this is also the case when they're in the forest and they have to do certain things, answer questions, because it's not just running. They have to answer questions that will be about the area. So it was country promotion. We realized a lot of persons weren't aware of things that existed in Trinidad. If they saw pictures, they were like, no, that is not Trinidad, that is not Tobago. You'll have to be crazy. And it allows for personal development, similar to the experience you will gain in Atholog Jack, but not in a classroom setting, in a setting that is remote. And so sometimes you're hearing team members starting to loud up and curse up other team members. I tell you so, and now they need to gather themselves if they really want to complete this thing successfully. So when we just started, we focused on building team spirit, ingenuity, the skill that they have, and the commitment that they would have focused on. And we also placed into that some intrigue where they will not know where they're going until the day of the event. So we did not start it at all for thinking it will grow into any big business. It was started literally as a like for the outdoors, and we want to show other persons what exists in the outdoors. And I could share with you the progression from hobby to business now, or wait until after.
Well, you seem to be on a roll. So tell us about how it moved from hobby to like a real business.
Right. Well, one of the first things I want to, I want to say this, and I'm going to intersplice it periodically, right? Because I want all of us to understand that perfection is the enemy of good. And so a lot of times we wait until we have the perfect idea, and we wait until everything line up. You know the truth? That will never happen, because perfection is like a mirage. What we need to do is just start. It sounds crazy. It sounds like, what are you speaking of? But at times you just have to start. I think one of the challenges we have, and it goes back to school a bit, but I think we need to make some differentiating factors. We are not a risk-averse set of persons, right? No, we don't have a high-risk appetite. We risk-averse. So it's like, try that business and fail. As a failure is a bad thing, because when you fail in class, Stefan, sometimes we send people to the back of the class. All right, you to the back of the class, right? But in some of the models that Stefan and they're using, we share with persons that, listen, failure is one way. One thing you have to learn a bit better to do to move forward is not as if you are a failure, you fail at that, right? So converting from a hobby to a business, one of the first things that we need to have is, all right, I'm going into this. So 2007, sorry, we started with 14 teams. All right, cool, manageable. Then it grew in 2008 to 23 teams. I was like, all right, okay. And so now we started to establish a core set of persons, a core set of officials, a core set of trail masters, a core set of planners, and so on. So we just had to put things together a bit and get the things together, because we also go to prepare the trails, and this takes up like close to 1,200 man hours just to prepare the trails for an event, because we go with the brush cutters, chainsaws, blowers, ribbon up everything, do all the logistics, right? So the first thing was to get a core set of persons who love what we're doing, and then to recognize that by the time in 2009, it grew to 42 teams. So understand this is going on an exponential curve, right? And it eventually grew in 2013 to more than 100 teams of 4.
My God.
So now motivation is not going to carry you through again, right? You need to be disciplined. So motivation is like the trigger, like, oh, yeah, boy, I'm going to start this business. Good, that's a good thing. That is great. But then after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, hey, discipline now needs to step in. I may not be feeling motivated to do A, B, or C, but I am committed to this and I need to maintain some discipline, right? So we expanded to Tobago in 2014. And right now, and I'm coming back again to say perfection is the enemy of good. And don't wait until it's perfect. I did not mention we didn't have any website at this time. None of those things, right? So we moved, but we were using social media to communicate the message. We moved from traditional and was like, all right, let's transition into social. And the numbers started to pick up. We moved to Tobago and say, okay, this is our first feeler in having this in our next country. I mean, but testing the logistics, right? And moving from one Trinidad over to Tobago. It was a huge success. We introduced our next discipline, mountain biking. Then in 2015, we introduced Fusion Light, which is a 2-person event. Started off with 126 teams, grew to 211 in the following year. Then in 2016, we had our website where you could register online. So we moved from the registration used to be, hey, come and pay in person. Then we moved to online registration. And I'm saying it again, you don't have to wait until all these things in place just to start, right? We focus a bit on social media to increase the likes and so on in social media. So we somewhere around like 40,000-ish in 2016. In 2017, we established our e-magazine. We introduced a new event, Fusion One-on-One in 2019. That was 400 persons registered for that. We introduced online tracking because we couldn't find it anywhere. So we had online tracking of persons in 2019. Then last year, because of the pandemic, we were like, okay, can we have a virtual race? And we said, you know what, let's put it out there, see how much persons would like to do this. And it was 600, and they had to complete one course per month. Anytime they want to go any month, any day, anytime, and that is what we did. And that is what our progression has been. And only this year, we introduced merchandising. So persons could actually purchase merchandise from online. And participation is from the ages of 7 years old to over 70 years old, with the mode between ages 26 to 30. So that is how we progress from being a hobby to a business. Yeah. It was literally progressive elaboration. And I think that is one of the models that should be considered, progressive elaboration, understanding without any risk, there's no reward. Yes, it might fail, but you know what, we try something else. And we have failed. We have failed at certain initiatives. We did something, tried something, crap, this was all that good, you know, this wasn't all that good. Let's see how we could improve. What can we add to improve the experience of our clients? And so that is how it has been. Okay. But as I said, I am seriously considering being a teacher. Seriously.
so let me jump into Stefan here. And because so we heard how Charles started, but in terms of you, I mean, here TikTok, I will say in terms of all the social media platforms, TikTok is one of the newer ones that is really taking in terms of popularity. Were you on it before? Were you doing videos before? Or was the Trini alphabet a deliberate thing? Or did it just kind of evolve on its own and take on its own life? And then you decided, hey, this is actually something I could monetize.
All right, so Fayola, let me add a little history lesson now.
That's
so
cool.
We started with history, right? Yeah. So March 2020 was when this bacchanal start, this pandemic bacchanal start, March 2020, right?
Yes.
School shut down.
Yes.
We weren't mandated to start the online thing, yes. yet. I started a little thing with because I had some Form 5s, whatever. We're trying to wrap up term 3, but it wasn't mandated by the ministry. You have to teach online. So your boy had a little extra time, right? My cousin was on TikTok. She making one at a dance video, one at a thing, whatever, right? So a day she come by me. So we doing this thing. So I say, what let us really be seeing in this thing, boy? Yeah. So I just go on one day and do like, okay, so in TikTok, I don't know if you're familiar with the app, there's something called voiceovers. Yeah. So it's like people saying something and you kind of like say it, but it's not, you're using their voice. So I did a couple of voiceovers. That's when I start. So I just start up, I download a little TikTok account, whatever, and I start. I started March. So I started doing little voiceovers, my post once every 2 days, a little bit in between. Then I started doing original content, meaning that it had certain scenarios that I would do that is original. So I don't know if you're familiar with my TikTok account. So I usually have a rag. I'm putting my rag on my head. So this is a character. I have a character like this. Oh God, my headphones fall out. So I have a character like this, which is Ma. So Ma was introduced at that point in time. And I did like back and forth with her original content, like random content, right? Yeah. And that is when it started, the peak started, because people like the original content. Trini's like strippiness, right? Then
they like jokes. Yeah.
They like jokes and bacchanal and comments. We know that, right? Yeah. Then I saw a Guyanese TikToker doing a Guyanese alphabet, right? So I said, hey, this sounding good. So I'm thinking I could probably do a Trini version. No, in the world of social media, you had to credit people for the videos, else you could end up in serious trouble. Yeah. So I credit the man when I start the man sent lawyer letter for me, all kind of bacchanal, right? Well, no, he didn't send lawyer letter for me. I sent lawyer letter for him because he threatened to take down my account, he threatened all kind of thing because he say I thiefing, he work and all kind of thing, right? So I start the alphabet, I credit the man in the first video. If I go on my TikTok account and all, let's start with A, I say credited from whoever, and I do my Trini alphabet. Me, I take your Guyanese letters, I take mine. I do we one, right? So I go on through the alphabet, and that is when it started to go so. That is when the following started. And that is when you basically blow up and you start trending, right, on TikTok. So since then, I've done different series. For those of you all who following me on TikTok, you all know that I did after the alphabet, I did the numbers. Then I did pronunciations. Then I'm doing right now the tritiums, right? And then I have little skits that I do in between, And I started like putting my stuff on Facebook as well. I actually going and launch my YouTube channel just now because I want everybody to have access to these things. Right. I want it to be accessible because if you realize, well, I don't know if you know, but TikTok was really catered to a younger audience. Yeah. Right? More young. So plenty time when I go, just wanted a children, wanted to come and take out pity and all kind of thing. Wanted a little 5-6-year-old children and all kind of thing, right? Don't talk for when I'm talking in school graduation. Oh God, well, that's the worst. Right? So it started on TikTok, yes, but I've expanded to Instagram, posting this stuff on Instagram, posting it on Facebook and YouTube, right? So it's all about, my thing is all about cultural education in a sense, because I want the younger generation to know some words that talking broken language is not necessarily a bad thing. It has certain time and place for everything. Right. So if I ask you, if I tell you, you have guts like Kobo, you must be able to tell me what that means because I'm teaching you in a video. I know in a book is a video now, so I'm teaching the public, trying to get, because that is something that was ingrained in me from long time talking with older people. I like to listen to old people and learn from these people. And I think that we need to teach the Gen Zs. You see, Gen Zs nowadays, they're different, Gen Zs is where's called it again? I don't want to say like the boomers, Gen Zs on the whole. Gen Zs, that generation, them need things to keep them attentive. Quick. Them don't want no long, the short attention span. So them things quick. So a little 30-second video, I teach you on tritiums or pronunciations or something. They can learn off that quick because it's funny. Because I'm making it funny now with the examples I use and such a stupid name and thing and the like that. Right? So for me, yes, I educate in a classroom, a physical classroom, and a formal environment in terms of my school and teaching my econ and my POB and whatever. But on the next end, I still want to try a little cultural education and make it a little fun, you know, and still do a little funny skit in between. Now, as Charles said, and I write down what he said because as a teacher and a Charles boy, I make my little notes. Charles said that his business was based on progressive elaboration. So mine was the total opposite. I would say I was a kind of anomaly in a sense because I didn't expect to become a social media personality. In my million years, I would have never think that Stefan Feldman is a social media personality. So that happened from the point of the alphabet time. That, well, the takeoff from that time. I mean, yes, I'm doing it now, but it started there. And people started to realize that I could bring something to the table. I didn't know me making stupid joke because I always had this personality. I always outgoing. I like to old talk with people and all kind of thing. But then I realized people like this, and companies realize that I could probably bring some kind of brand into them, help the people see the products, wherever. If you know my product review and thing, I sit down and a thing and wherever. So it was for me, not progressive elaboration, but more like a kind of overnight thing. I mean, yes, there's two people that talk about overnight business happening and thing. It don't happen often. But for me, it was a case like that because I never say, all right, you know, next 2 years, I want to be a social media influencer. I'll go in and start videos and whatever. No, it wasn't like that for me. It just happened. And I thank God for that it happened, right? So from now, that hobby in making people laugh home and talking with your little partners and all kind of thing, that now became into a business in a sense. Right. So the business being a social media influencer. But you know when, yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, actually, Stefan, your setup, now that you are a social media influencer, is very professional in that, in terms of companies, yes, they see value in you and they want to contact you. Contacting you is very easy. You have an easy, you know, form for them to fill out.
Yes, so let me explain the methods they could contact me. So my number all over for everybody to see. My number all over the place. Or they could call me and talk to me. I like to talk to people. Or they call me and talk now, man. So I set up the Instagram where I have the link to the Google form.
Right.
Then I have, like, when people message me on Facebook or whatever, it sends off the automatic message with the link to click to go and to follow the information, and it sends direct to my email, right? Then I have like somebody to help manage that, not officially, but just like a friend helping to manage all these things. Because at the end of the day, yes, you're making funny videos and you're being stupid on Facebook and wherever, but you have to demonstrate professionalism. You must demonstrate professionalism. So my form and thing, I fill it up. I even have a social media service menu. So when people say, Stefan, what price you want, boy? I can't say, boy, well, I feel for you, I'm going to do it for 300. No, you have to have your social media service menu. If you see my pose up on thing on it, like a textbook, but it's just about four little page and thing, pretty colors. People like colors, right? So when Charles want to reach out to me and I want to say, boy, let me do something for iGov Day. And I say, boy, well, Charles, my big contract now, boy. He go say, Stefan, send me a social media service menu. I have it on email and a PDF. So when I send it for Charles, he and the team could go through. Professionalism is the key here, Fayola. Professionalism. Because you could be how much star, you could have 200 million followers, but if you cannot relate and make things easily accessible for the public, your business wouldn't grow. Your business wouldn't grow. Eventually, I might want to form my own, what you call this thing? Entertaining company, entertainer company or whatever. That might be something I want to look into the future. But for now, you have to demonstrate, and whoever on this chat we talking here, even whatever you like, it could be like me being a fool on social media, demonstrate professionalism in any job, any business you have. You're cooking food, but cockroach running on the ground? No, right? You're doing nails, you're talking up in the people's face, but your breath stinking. Come on, be professional.
So let me ask you a question to both of you gentlemen. Do you think that your business degree, and Stefan, you would have done economics and then you would have done project management, and Charles, you would have done, yes, your BSc and your master's in computer science, but then you did an MBA after. Do you think that those business degrees helped you in terms of formulating or making that transition from the hobby or, you know, the the things that you were doing for fun, and being able to organize that in a way that not just for money, right, but more in terms of to make it more professional, as Stefan is talking about. Do you think that helped you in terms of organizing it? Because it's more than just you doing something. Stefan, you talk about you have people that you're relying on. That would be your team. Charles, you talk as well about, team. That in itself is HR management. Both of you all have talked about marketing to some extent. So do you see a clear link, or is there something that, you're like, yeah, it's all right, it's okay, but the business degree didn't really help? Where's your mind at with that?
Well, for me, is a very clear link, and actually for some persons, which for some teams is their bane of existence, which is working as a team. That is one of listen, I always boast about that, the importance of that experience at Athalok Jack. You see the importance working within that team, understanding team dynamics, the forming, the norming, the storming, performing, and all those things. And not only from a theoretical perspective, but a practical perspective, because our team for Fusion is 60 odd persons, right? And so you need to, understand how to set up a team. You need to understand and prepare for team dynamics. Secondly, we were taught the reasons for starting a business. And one of the reasons, well, one is profit. Well, of course, when you're just starting a business, you're not going to see any profit for a little while. But one of the things, and this is what I was focused on, is to increase stakeholder value. And of course, our stakeholders would have been persons who participate in, whether it's experts or citizens, whether it's athletes, persons in the gym, the man on the street. The third thing was with regard to the marketing, to understand the different ways to market a product. Now, albeit when I did my international MBA, it would have been years ago. And of course, a lot of things changed in the environment, but some of the principles remain the same. And so the environment changed in terms of social media and persons access, faster access to internet and those type of things. But it was analyzing the different ways and when to market a product. The fourth is financial astuteness in terms of money management, when to invest in certain things, and doing your proper cost benefit analysis as well as your balance sheets and those type of things. And the last, but by no means least, is leadership. Because, I mean, not only has it been critical and fundamental in terms of my hobby that turned into business, but I mean, I'm the chief executive officer as well, and I'm the vice president in Aberdeen Wildcats. Seven of our athletes representing Trinidad right now in the Olympics, like Jareem and all of them, So it's about meshing all of those things together. So for me, it is a definite clear-cut situation. And now, while I will be doing it, I may not be able to see it there and then while putting it into practice, right? But when you ask the question, and in hindsight and pulling the things together, is very clear for me. So very clear for me.
Okay, all right. So I'll ask Stefan and then we'll wrap up. In terms of, you and your economics and project management.
Right, so I, as you all know, I did my BSc in economics and my MSc in project management at UWI. But in teaching a syllabus to students, I have actually seen it come to life as me being a social media influencer now. Now, I want to just touch on one aspect because I know Charles went on to talk several aspects. I just want to focus on one. Social media marketing is a whole dynamic by itself, right? Social media marketing. And being a social media marketer now, I mean, I'm still learning and stuff. We have to know at least the 4 Ps. Up to the CSEC level, they teach you up to the 4 Ps, price, product, place, promotion. But we know MSc people is, I write it down because I forget, people, processes, and physical evidence, right? So it's 7 Ps. So I talking from the social media aspect part. As from the social media aspect part, you must understand marketing to understand social media marketing, right? What's your price? A small company reaching out to me versus Charles when he gave me the big contract. Think about it. I can't charge them the same thing. Price, the product. You want me come in the store or you want me stay home and videotape something?
Yeah.
That product. Place. Where we doing it? We having a formal studio with acoustics and thing? Or I could put on my AC in my room and put on my Lasco fan. Promotion. You want me post it up for you? We going and boost it on Facebook. We going on Instagram. You want me post it on my TikTok. What we doing? Social media marketing. And apart from the social media marketing, we have to understand the niche markets. Now, for TikTok, remember I tell you I have little children fans. So none of my video could have cussing in it. None. Because I know my niche. I have little 3-year-olds running up to me when they see me in the grocery. How I could do something, how I could have a video with cursing and all this kind of thing. So you must know your niche. Right? What you say, Charles? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right.
100%, 100%.
Right. So it's all about understanding your niche market and being able to market yourself as a social media influencer. Now, remember, it's a real fellas in this game right now. I had to come out there now and try to win over all these social media influencers out there now, you know, because this social media marketing thing is a real lucrative thing for some people out there, you know. Some people just doing this alone. Eventually, I might leave my teaching work, you never know. If I get some big contract, if I get some Charles organize some big contract for me and I gone up there, right? To be the social media boss up there. So it has potential, but in order to build your brand, you have to understand your basics. People, they say, boy, I just start up that thing on YouTube and I do in my videos, but them I understand marketing. You're cussing in your videos, so the parents stop the child from watching your video. You will understand that. You have to understand the basics. So I must say my econ degree and my MSc in project management helped me, because everything is a project. We know that. A project has a definite start, definite finish. If it's a program, we're doing it over and over. Everything is a project. So anything I try to do, I try to use the project tools. I try to bring in the econ and I teach in the POB and all them kind of thing. Bring a team together for me to be a better social media influencer.
That's great.
Well
So,
said.
gentlemen, I just want to say thank you very much. It is just noon, and I know our event is supposed to close off at noon. So I want to say thank you very much to both of you, Charles as well as Stefan. Your contributions you were amazing. I really enjoyed having a small panel. It allowed us to go deep in terms of the discussion. And, you know, I did not expect and anticipate this panel to be so lively. This was an absolute treat. It really was. It was lit. It was fun. And I hope that everyone who's watching the webinar also had a great time as well. All right. So thanks very much.
All right.
And I hand you over to you, Teacher.
All right. Yeah, boy, Charles, call me.
I'll call you.
All right. No.
Hi, everybody hear me?
Yes, Tash, go right ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Baksh. And on behalf of Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, I would like to thank each and every one of you for spending your morning with us, learning about the Bachelors of International and Sustainable Business, and basically hearing from our alumni at Lockjack as well as our students. I would like to thank Mr. Mariano Brown, the CEO of Lockjack, for kickstarting today. I would like to thank our student recruitment team for assisting for the event today. I would like to thank our marketing team for the dedication towards making today a success. Thank you, Dr. Dindial, for the presentation on our Bachelors of International and Sustainable Business. And special thank you to our guest speakers who made today possible. sharing their experience with not only Lockjack and their schooling system, but also their passion and skill in what they do and how they build their career. And it was a very interactive and fun panel discussion, especially you, Stefan. So thank you, Ms. Lisa Giuseppe, Mr. David Roberts, Mr. Ian Forbes, Mr. Stefan Fallman, and Mr. Charles Bob Sample. I would also like to say thank you to the students that would have also participated in our panel discussion. We thank you for your experience and sharing your thoughts on what Lockjack has to offer. And lastly, many heartfelt thank yous for the cooperation for making today a success. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Guys, so you may be wondering what is next. If you are interested in pursuing the Bachelor of International and Sustainable Business program for September 2021, please get in contact with Natasha or myself. You can check us out on our website at www.lockjackgsb.edu.tt or send us an email at admissions@lockjackgsb.edu.tt. Again, we hope that you can join the Lockjack GSB, join our family, and become great at whatever you do. So do have a good afternoon.